Lightning cracks, moves at max. It's movie night. The gang's all here, grip with fear. More horror films, alright. From bad to worse and worse to shit, you'll beg to fucking quit. Malevolent Movies has arrived in stereo now, nowhere to hide.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Malevolent Movies, the podcast, episode number 15. And today's a kind of a special episode because it is our Valentine's Day episode. We decided that we love and hearts and cupids, and what better way to show that than by watching a Bigfoot movie made for a buck and a half.
And we picked the movie that we really truly believe you should watch on Valentine's Day with your lover. This is the DVD you pop in, and by the end of it, you will be making love.
Yes, we watched a movie from 2016 called The Big F. And before we get started, though, I do want to let everyone know Sean is with us today. We have had fans and we have people asking where Sean has been.
Begging,
and so here he is, guys.
I have been dadding so hard right now, but you know what? Shitty movies have not been lost on me. Late at night when everybody's tucked in their bed and the diapers are relatively dry, Dad fires up the old B movie. So thanks for having me back in the fold.
Absolutely. I just apologize that it was the Big F.
That's on you. Hey, that's on Tyler. That's not on you, Ryan. Damn it.
I know, but shit.
And so in my defense, I tried to look for Valentine's Day movies, and they're like, if you put it on like the advanced search on IMDb, only like 10 movies come up, and it's like, you know, the classics like My Bloody Valentine and stuff. And so the Big F, unfortunately, was just there staring directly at me, and I just couldn't help myself.
The artwork is so tasty too. That's what drew me in.
Yeah. Well, so Ryan, I'm going to get you upset right out the gate here. So I bought the DVD.
Yeah.
I couldn't find a digital copy online, and so I bought it. And this is, I believe, Wild Eye is the distribution group.
Yeah.
And the cover has what looks like, you know, it could be a gorilla or a Sasquatch, which I find they missed an opportunity here because I didn't buy it because of that face, the cross-eyed ape. I would have definitely bought this if it was what we actually got in the movie, which is just a regular man's face in a long wig and an ape suit.
Hey, there was some brow work.
Yeah, there was some little bit of work going on there in between.
The costume in this movie is insulting to me.
No, Nick, no.
I was thinking of Nick a lot as we watched this movie. When we saw effects stuff, particularly.
This is how I want to be remembered.
Ryan, I want to get you upset here because I was actually upset. So I bought this DVD. It's the unrated version, apparently. Couldn't cut out any more because it's like 69 minutes. But on the back, I was excited because it has bonus features. Audio commentary, behind the scenes, gag reel, short films, etc. And when I pop this bad boy in, there is no audio commentary. There is no gag reel. There are no short films. There is a like 9-minute behind the scenes featurette, but it's mostly just them fucking around on set. I'm not really learning anything. And I was really disappointed. I wanted that audio commentary because I wanted to know why they thought this was a good idea to make this movie. So I figured you'd get upset about that because you are a collector. I would assume that what you see as advertised, you want. And unfortunately, it's on the back of the case. It's not there.
Yeah, absolutely. And most of the times when you do, especially from a boutique label, you do get what you are promised. Only on occasion is there something that they printed up the insert and stuff beforehand, and then they ended up not getting the materials. That's happened once or twice, but most of the time, if it says it's going to have all this stuff, it's going to have all that stuff. Having said that, this is a Wild Eye releasing movie. And if you spend any amount of time watching trailers for low-budget horror movies of the last 5 or 6 years, you've seen the Wild Eye releasing, title card thing before most of these movies. They'll put out just about anything. Yeah. If you thought Uncorked Entertainment was sort of like what you got, we'll put out. No, man, they're Criterion in comparison. There are several Blu-ray reviewers that I watch on YouTube, and anytime they lift up a movie and they're like, well, this came to us from the good people at Wild Eye Releasing, I probably won't watch the review. So I'm no stranger to Wild Eye Releasing.
Well, so here's the back of the box. Squatch out, ladies. Bigfoot is on the loose in the suburbs and looking for a mate. Jenny is house-sitting when her cousin convinces... What? That was... Oh, it was her cousin.
Yeah.
So wait, is it her cousin's house?
Different cousin, maybe.
Yeah, that's a big
I guess.
It's not long after the Bigfoot enters the. It's not long after that Bigfoot enters. I believe there's supposed to be a comma there. Bigfoot enters the cul-de-sac, leaving the neighborhood residents to defend their street from this beast in heat. Horror Society says a modern-day creature feature that hits all the right notes. It is the perfect mix of laughs and blood, which is the way I like it. I highly recommend this one. Lies.
What we learned there from that is that Horror Society will say anything about your movie. I mean, they got a friend or somebody on the inside, or they slipped them a $2 bill or something, but
Yeah.
I disagree with everything that they said.
Does anybody have any initial thoughts? Anything you want to share?
I will say this, Tyler. Here's the deal. You're like, get back in the fold. Big F. We got Sasquatch. He's horny. He's running crazy in the suburbs. And I'm like, I was raised on Harry and the Hendersons as a kid. So I'm in, man. I'm in. I know my Squatch movies. So I had high-ish expectations.
Fair.
Let's just say those were relatively squashed with a big foot.
Well, I can assume that everybody was out right around the hour mark of this movie.
I mean, I had been out, but yeah.
And damn you once again, Tyler. Okay, because you warned me. Before I started watching this, you're like, Sean, I apologize for the ending. You shouldn't have said anything. I would have had no idea. I would have gone into completely unassuming that anything fishy was going to happen, so to speak. So I went in with full expectations of what was going to happen. And if not, I would have been blindsided, and I probably wouldn't be talking to you right now because I'd be so upset.
I was worried about your kids, Sean. I was worried about them seeing it. So I just
Thank you.
Because it takes a turn.
Yeah. And what's weird is, and I mean, Bigfoot has not been, as Sean mentioned, the Harry and the Hendersons, Bigfoot has been a character that has popped up in cinema for 30, 40 years. But there has been an explosion in the last 5 or 6 years, it seems like, especially with the super duper low budget horror movies, that there's a lot of Bigfoot movies coming out there. Matter of fact, somebody that I'm friends with on Facebook maybe 6 months ago was raising money for his own Bigfoot movie. So I don't know what's going on lately, but there's been a lot of Bigfoot, low budget Bigfoot movies coming out. And this, I don't think it gets any lower budgeted than the Big F. Don't start with this one.
Oh, man. All right. So immediately we get a very quick, as now I learn, it's the production company or the distribution company. It just says Wild Eye, Raw and Extreme. With no kind of that was all the information they were given to us. I was already confused because it's also only up for a couple of seconds. Yeah, it felt like a mistake.
Well, yeah, it felt like you missed like the first 5 seconds where the logo fades in. It's just like
yeah. So
it's like the Star Wars fanfare.
Yeah, but so you're already just losing me. We see like the worst footage I've ever seen. I don't know about you guys, but it looked more like blue blocks than black or gray to me. And it's just a couple of seconds. It's maybe like 10 seconds. I'm looking at it right now of this woman, this poor topless woman running through the snow in the middle of the night. And she reaches a tree and then kind of looks around at the camera. And then we cut into a shack or house. It's a house,
a filthy, dirty house that is attached to like a garage or something. Because and all right, so I'm sorry, I'm already getting hot.
That's fine.
In most of the homes that we see in this movie, when you go inside, there's shit everywhere. Everything is dirty and filthy. I don't understand it because some of these are nicer looking homes on this cul-de-sac, but there's just literally boxes and shit everywhere. Don't film in these locations. If you have one nice house, just film it all in the one nice house. It didn't add anything. Yeah. It made it look and feel smaller than it's supposed to be. Because it's like, I can't imagine when they were picturing this introductory scene, it looked anything like this.
They got nowhere else to go, Tyler.
And this was shot during I think a snow day. I think the whole movie was shot on one snow day.
Community college snow day.
Yeah, the guy called his friend and said, "Hey, what do you got in the Halloween basket in your closet?" "Well, I got a long wig, and hey, you got some crazy gloves? Yeah, let's make a Bigfoot movie right now." "All right."
Yeah,
great. Nobody's costumes. There was no thought into anything.
This is, I guess, filmed in 2015 in Detroit, right?
Yeah, this is a regional movie made in Michigan, and the filmmaker Brian Papandrea, he makes a lot of these kind of low budget movies, and it looks like it's all like in Royal Oak, Michigan, in that vicinity.
Yeah.
So this man, I don't know if we ever get his actual name. He calls himself Dr. Scientist at one point.
Nope, that's what he's credited as.
All right, Dr. Scientist.
It's the German guy, the guy doing a German accent.
Yeah, he's doing this goofy, like, I don't know how else to describe it other than just like a bad Nazi.
Yeah.
A Nazi professor or some shit.
And hey, he's having a lot of fun, guys.
Yes,
He's
he
having
does
a lot of fun.
He smiles the entire time. The entire time.
I'm glad he was having a good time. I wish I was having as good a time as he was.
So
I killing time on a snow day.
Yeah.
I thought this other character that shows up, this tall guy, Vic, was the Bigfoot, but actually Dr. Scientist is the Bigfoot through most of the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think there's like 4 or 5 people credited as having worn the costume, but I think that after this introductory scene, he wears it the rest
That's
of the
him,
movie.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Whenever you see the Bigfoot's face, especially, it is him.
It's him, yeah. So he's playing chess with Bigfoot. There's a knock at the door. He goes upstairs, and it's the woman that we saw earlier, like 30 seconds ago.
It's an introducing credit in the movie.
Introducing Mia Summer or something.
So, just a spoiler alert, she's killed off, and then the credits roll saying introducing, but that we're done with her. So she was
that's
already
it.
introduced and dead.
Yeah,
Wasn't it the same woman who we opened the movie? We see her running.
yeah.
Is that just a flash forward? Okay, I wasn't sure. I couldn't be bothered to go and check if that was the same girl who was about to get killed in 5 minutes.
I had this weird feeling that Wild Eye said, you know what, we'll release your DVD, but the problem is we need a little bit more excitement right at the top. So they just clipped like 20 seconds and put it at the front, and it's a mess.
And aren't we introducing the entire cast with this one?
Yes.
I mean,
Really? Yeah.
in the credits, you get their actual actors' names with all of the like shots of their character, but you don't know most of these characters. Actually, you don't know any of them other than Dr. Scientist.
Yeah.
And so it's just
It's something that you'd see like at the end of a movie.
Yeah. Actually, Ryan, it was a Justin Price film that did this, the werewolf movie. But they actually had their character's name next to it too. And you didn't see their faces,
that's right.
but it had the actor's name and then the character's name, even though we didn't know who the characters were.
Yeah, that's right. Because we comment on that, like, well, that's great. Thanks for letting us know, but we don't know who these figures are yet.
Yeah. I remember Mr. Sushi and Mr. X. They were in the credits.
Oh my gosh. So she's at the door, and he kind of, let me see here. Well, what did I write down? Oh, she won't go inside. She is not a prostitute, she says, but he has scheduled some time with her to come over to talk to his brother/patient, who's Bigfoot. And she's, for the most part, seems to be down with it. She wants money up front before she goes inside.
She is so anxious about that money that she just can't stop fucking moving. It's like, I know she's doing like that, like, street hooker situation where you're kind of like always moving, like, yeah, so hey John, how you doing? You want me to get in the car and have a good time? But she keeps moving the whole time she's outside. It's very bizarre.
Yeah.
I like that we've identified that there is a cliche streetwalker dance and
always jostling a little bit.
Yeah.
Just moving and grooving. I get it. He says that he's been performing tests on Bigfoot, but Bigfoot isn't cooperating. He seems distracted, and the doctor thinks that Bigfoot just needs to get laid, basically. She thinks it's all role play and is down with it. She says, I've been in a furry orgy before, and there was some bit about, I had to fuck a puppet because the ventriloquist could only get it up when he's doing me through the puppet.
He puts the penis through the puppet, right?
I guess.
That's the way I
You're filling in blanks I didn't want to think about, Tyler.
Yeah. Oh, and now we get to hear the first really bad ADRs when they go back into the basement.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just awful. He says, so there he is, just a Bigfoot in a cage, and she doesn't care. And Dr. Scientist, hey, dance for him. So she starts dancing, and we get
it's
so weird.
It is so weird because There's one of those bars that you use to like keep the floorboards up. I don't know what that's called,
Right.
and it's in the foreground of the shot, like in the left side of the frame, and she's kind of dancing to the right of it. So I automatically assumed, oh, she's going to use it like a stripper pole. She's
Yeah.
going to dance on it, but no, it's just there in the shot because they had no room in their filthy, dirty basement to do this.
Yeah.
And there's just plastic hanging from the ceiling.
They were trying to subvert our expectations. This was
Yeah,
it was a very deliberate choice.
yes,
Mm.
that's my fault. That's my fault. The movie's too smart for me.
That's it. So she's dancing, and then we get like shots of her like undoing her shirt, and then we get a shot of Bigfoot like standing up, and we get some more shots of just his big weird chest.
Yeah.
And he's got these like perfectly round, fleshy patches with these long, weird nipples on them.
Yes, they're very thin. Oh.
It looks like a pinky, just like yeah.
Yeah, it's like they're erect nipples, but they're also flat at the same
Yeah.
time.
They're like giant thumbtacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And his hands look, Nick, why do his hands look like this?
They look
Do
like
you
wet
notice-
oatmeal. They're
Yeah.
so weird.
Okay, is that the same? I might have missed the hands, but I definitely have a note in here that his feet look like they're made of grease. Is that what
Yes,
you're talking
his
about?
hands look like that. Yes.
Yeah.
He looks
His
like
hands
a
are the
strangler.
I suspect because looking at the penis later on, it definitely looks like it was made of silicone. Like maybe they like just brushed silicone on top of something, and when you do that, it gets like a lumpy, gross,
Okay.
greasy texture. And I'm guessing that's what it was. I just wouldn't have tried and just given up rather than present that. But there it is.
Yeah.
Do we get an official origin on this? Did Dr. Scientist create this creature?
It's
No.
Bigfoot. He just
Okay.
found Bigfoot, I guess.
Yeah, just
brother.
exactly.
Right?
Yes, his brother.
Yeah. I think that's part of the reason that they had the scientist also play the face of the monster. Is it's implied that
Oh,
he
yeah,
either
okay.
created or they are related by blood.
So she's still dancing, and then she sees his tiny Bigfoot wiener and starts laughing at him. And then Bigfoot gets so mad that he like rips through the cell and chases after her. She runs up the stairs, but first he rips off Dr. Scientist's arm, or like
Yeah.
his forearm, like just rips it through his shirt.
Well,
It's
and this
pretty bad,
this
but
poor guy, Nathan is his name. You know what? I like Nathan because he's having a good time. He's clearly not comfortable in front of the camera, but you can tell like he took a shot of something or just before they said action, and he's like, "All right, now I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna act my heart out." And
Yeah.
it's the cutest thing ever.
Because he's smiling the whole time. He can't help but
Yeah.
smile.
Yeah.
No.
He's like, my arm, but he's holding the plastic stump and it's squirting out the fake blood. And he's like, 999, because he's supposed to be like a German scientist. And he keeps yelling 99, but the whole time he's just grinning and smiling.
Actually, isn't he just saying? Isn't he saying stop it? Stop it!
Oh, he does. He does.
Yeah,
Because
he doesn't say 9. He's like,
well, then, yeah, he says that, and then he says 9 as well. But the stop it thing, he says it in such a way. I thought maybe they were trying to do a Halloween 3 reference, because the way the movie ends with Tom Atkins yelling "stop it," and then it ends with an echoing. They put an echo effect on his last stop it there as well. But then I thought, well, that's a lot of effort for them for the big F. And I already knew at this point that there wasn't a lot of effort into the big F. So maybe I was looking for that. I'm so now used to. I'm looking for references now all the time in these kind of low budget things, because they just jam pack them full of that sort of stuff. So
they have references to their earlier films. I know that much.
oh, okay.
Oh.
Because it takes the street that they're on is called Fang Boner Road or something, and that's the Nathan was the director of that film, and that came out in 2015, the year before this one.
Oh.
So these guys are all
okay.
buddies. They're all making their own little movies. It's adorable.
Wow, look at that.
For them.
Yeah. So now we're back outside, and we've caught up to the cold open, I guess, where she's still out there running. It looks really cold, and yeah, there's not much that happens. She runs towards the tree. She turns around, and then the camera, tries to zoom in towards her, but it's clearly somebody just clomping through the snow. And then we get a freeze frame, and the title splashes on the screen.
Well,
And
before that, you get this one wide shot of like
there's one
tree
good
line.
shot. Yes, I had that in my notes. It looked kind of cool.
Yeah, and there's like this like dark. I don't know if it's superimposed or if he's actually out there of the Sasquatch. And at first, I laughed, and then I was like, "Wait a minute! Actually, that looks kind of good." Like,
Yeah. It's the only thing that looks bad is it's shot. I don't know what they shot this on. It looks like a VHS camera.
It really does. It's like one of those like 480p like handy cams, like the first like handheld ones. Very
It looks
rough.
like, yeah. But the shot itself, it looks cool. It's one of the few things in here that did work for me, that I really liked. And you can barely see him. But it's sledgehammers like that too, where if sometimes the artifact, it was just so blurry and so old that it kind of helped in a weird way that you couldn't really see what was happening right until you needed to, until it was supposed to be obvious. But anyway, then we go to the credit sequence, which shows us all these characters we haven't met yet. Everything is like sepia toned, and there's the grindhouse scratch filter has been applied, and there's this like cheap surf rock horror track playing. It's very silly, but it sets the tone, certainly.
Yeah,
it got me really excited because when the credit popped up, original music by Slasher Dave, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be funky. And after that point, I was like, I don't think I registered the music at all. There's
one bit during the montage later that I liked. I liked that music just because it played for so long.
Yeah, it just
kind of stuck in my head.
I was 100% in on Slasher Dave, man. I was impressed with Slasher Dave. Slasher Dave stuck out to me. I didn't remember Slasher Dave's name, but if there's one thing I noticed about Big F, man, there was something about the soundtrack that I can kind of get down to. So Slasher Dave, if you're listening, keep it up, buddy, because I like what you're doing.
Well, hey, you know what? Slasher Dave, if this is the same gentleman, it says Detroit, Michigan. He's got a band camp. And actually, he just had a release. Jungle Rescue came out last month on Bandcamp, and it.
Was he trying to score the new Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movie?
He must be prolific in the scene, because when I saw his name, it was familiar to me. I didn't know it from anything else, but I was like, oh, Slasher Dave, it seemed familiar. Like maybe he's on Facebook or I've seen something. So I'm trying to see if other movies that he might have. Because there's a lot of crossover between Brian Papandrea and like a lot of the stuff that we've worked on. You know, it's that whole 6 degrees. It's not even 6 degrees in this low budget world. So it's very possible.
Oh, sorry. He's in the groups Acid Witch, Horrific, Shivers, and then for some reason, one that's crossed out, the Ratfinks. So
they had fallen out with the Ratfinks.
Yeah, keep it up, Slasher Dave.
Yeah. So after the title sequence, we cut back to Fangboner Lane or whatever the hell it's called, and we see a mailman smoking a cigarette, tromping through the snow, and he's just like dropping stuff. He's throwing packages everywhere.
I like this dude.
Yeah, he comes up to who we will soon realize one of our main characters. I think his name's Chuck.
Yes.
Yes.
And he just hands him a package. Says, "Here's your mail, man," or something. And he's like, "Hey, this isn't my mail." He's like, "I don't give a fuck," and he just leaves.
Yeah.
So now he's got somebody else's mail, and we see that it's addressed to Maverick. Whoever
and
that
Chuck is not happy about this.
No, he knows who Maverick is, but we do not. So he kind of squints and, all right, well, here we go. And he walks across the street.
Oh, and you see every step he takes to get there.
Yeah, it might as well be one fucking shot here. And then Maverick answers the door with a sniper rifle, pointed like this, way up. Looks very silly. But he's just screwing with Chuck. He's not going to shoot him. He knows who he is and all blah, blah, blah. So he gives him the package. He says that he likes to get drunk and order stuff from the online eBays.
Is there any chance that this was made, like legitimately, was this made a decade ago and they buried it? And then
it feels like it, right?
It really does, because there's a cell phone bit later in the movie with a cell phone that gets broken that looks like it's from the mid 2000s. Like it's not like a flat screen, like an iPhone. It doesn't look like that. It looks like a phone.
Oh, they didn't. They probably had one in a drawer somewhere, and that was the only phone they could break.
Well, that could be the case. But the quality of the film, there's just something about it that makes me think that
I don't believe that it was 2016 or 2015 even.
Yeah.
I would say like 2006 or 7.
Yeah.
Well, if you watch, I did watch the featurette, the 9-minute featurette.
Oh, okay.
And it has to be at least post 2005 because you see by the clothes they're wearing, by the kids got a Devil's Rejects t-shirt on when they're doing ADR and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's very probably could have been 2006, 2007, but
yeah.
I don't know. I looked the kid, they all look about the same. So they haven't aged a whole lot, at least according to their social media and the way they look in the movie. So
yeah,
I think it was probably shot around 2014, 2015.
Maybe it's just, they just had all this shit. We have these cameras. Fuck it. Who cares?
The camera that they used was in the same drawer as the old broken cell phone.
Yeah. All right. We can only use these two things to make this movie.
Since we've reached our gruesome twosome, Chuck, who's our straight man, credits wise, it's story by cinematographer and editor. And then Maverick, who's our crazy neighbor, he was the writer and director. There's several scenes where you can kind of tell that these guys are the creative.
These are the two.
These are the two because they're having a lot of fun.
They do a lot of bits, and they're no Sam and Martin. We'll just say that.
That's
we got true. Both the boys here with us tonight.
God bless you.
One of the ones in these movies is usually the director. I'm coming up on.
So he's turns out he got a Bruce Lee action figure. That was what the package was. So there's that. Maverick. Then his wife yells at him off screen, say, "Hey, you're letting all the hot air out," or something.
Ryan, did you see in the featurette when they were recording that her
yes.
lines? It's this poor tiny woman. Well, I guess you see her later, but she's sitting in the middle of the couch between these two other guys. I think that Nathan guy was there. And like you can tell that they're just like, okay, now you got to say like, doesn't she say something about her pussy or something?
Yeah. So as we in this scene when she's yelling at him off screen, and just before the scene ends, Maverick, before he shuts the door, yells at her, "I'm going to eat your pussy like a bowl of Fruit Loops or Fruity Pebbles," or something like that. He name drops the cereal, and so they were recording all in the featurette. They were recording those lines where she was yelling at him. And she was going to have to yell something about "eat my pussy," and she was, having a hard time with the delivery of the lines. It wasn't quite as fun delivering those lines as it was acting on set. Because and what's funny is you see though, we were talking about all the actors in the movie. I think everybody played the Bigfoot at one point. The actor who comes in later in the movie playing Vic, the character who can't eat gluten, he's sitting on the couch with her, and he's got the Bigfoot outfit on while they're doing those recordings. So they must have had some pickups where he had to play the Bigfoot that day.
Oh, Jesus. So his wife, he and his wife get into an argument off screen. They're the whole thing about, eat your pussy like Fruit Loops. I don't know, whatever it is. They go outside. He says, "Oh, you want a beer?" Chuck says, "Nah, I don't know." But he eventually just pulls 2 beers out of his robe. And they're just kind of hanging out in front of the door, talking about their old ladies. I think one of them says. And then they go into Chuck asks why Maverick still has his Christmas decorations up. Apparently Chuck isn't a fan of that. And Maverick says there's going to be snow until March. Then Santa's going to meet a leprechaun. And that's the only reasoning he really gives. He also mentions that he's still setting off fireworks for 4th of July because he's proud to be an American. Oh, and he's got that little flag boat thing.
I love the flag boat. One of my favorite bits. There's a call back to it later.
Yeah.
Post credits. I love the flag boat because rather than just an American flag, he's got a little toy boat with an American flag as a sail. It's brilliant. All right. It's not brilliant, but it's definitely unique. I'll say that, and I appreciated it.
It's
when it comes to the big F, we take what we can get. You know what I mean? So if this was Avengers Age of Ultron, we'd be like, a little flag boat, no big deal. But in the big F, that's some production value. That's some cleverness. That's some fun. We're taking what we can from the big F. You know what I mean? When you're out in the woods fighting Bigfoot and you're dehydrated, you're going to drink the muddy mud puddle. You're going to get the water where you can. That's how we are with the big F. We're going to get the goofs where we can.
Well, I'm going to lap it up.
Yeah. So while they're out there talking, shooting the shit, they see the neighbor's niece come out of the house across the street. And Maverick, he's like, "Oh, I wonder who's plowing her driveway, huh? If you know what I mean, like fucking."
And then Chuck says something effective like, "Dude, that's a child."
Yeah, and he's like, "No, I checked her out. She's 27." I'm like, she does not look like she's a child. She's very clearly like an adult woman.
Well,
there's no way she could be mistaken to be a minor.
Yeah.
Like, just period. Like,
maybe the long shot when you first see her across the street when she's getting out of the house.
Yeah,
that's about it. That's it.
So he's going on about this whole like, you know what I mean? But he's yelling and just getting louder and louder. I liked this bit. After he yells about it for a bit, there's a beat of just silence, and then Chuck asks, "Do you still have my snowblower?" And he's just drinking his beer for way too long. This is one of the classic director-producer bits that happens where they don't really do anything. They just kind of stare at each other and, "Oh, isn't this funny? Look at this joke we're doing right now." Then he says, "Oh, well, all right. Well, I'm going to head inside. See you. It was good to see you. I'll see you on AOL." And then he yells to his wife that he wants a chicken plate or a plate of chicken fingers or something.
Chicken plate. I don't know what it meant.
Get ready for 15 minutes of nothing. So Chuck goes over to greet, I don't know if we've said her name yet, but her name is Jenny. Goes over to greet Jenny. And she has his mail, right? She has an envelope for him. And she says something about maybe it's a Valentine. Blah, blah, blah. He says a weird thing like, "We're supposed to get a foot of snow in the next hour," or something like that.
We haven't pointed it out yet, but Jenny has a rather robust fur coat on, which comes into play later.
God. Yeah. So furry Jenny, she tells Chuck that her cousin is coming over later, and then he stammers through some rough sexual innuendo. Same in your driveway. Just, you've heard it all before.
Bit.
So just then, some other crude woman pulls up and starts complaining about stuff. She doesn't stop complaining about stuff. So then from there, we cut to, I'm guessing, inside the director's dirty house. And Jenny's cousin has informed her that she's invited a couple guys over. And Jenny's not happy about this. And she says to her, "There will be no fucking." Cut to a truck full of two guys who are ready to fuck.
Comedy.
Oh, yeah.
It's a comedy cut. Like, okay.
What's that?
I've got some canned laughter here if we need it.
I will say real quick, just on a, and I'm sure this is just part of the actress's wardrobe and not necessarily a directorial choice, but Angie, the cousin, she is wearing a cattle decapitation shirt, which is a band I appreciated. So, and then Jay talk about cum.
Yeah.
They do. She says she doesn't want to wash cum out of her aunt and uncle's blankets. That's her main reason for not wanting guys to come over and have sex.
I mean, as far as reasons go, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So we're in the truck with two guys we've not seen before. There's a guy who's completely forgettable and another forgettable guy who I'm just going to refer to as the nerd because I don't know his name. Derek
is driving the car, and to me, we're going to learn a little bit something about these two that brings them close together. But Derek looks like a hunter. He looks like a good old boy. And because he's got like a little facial hair and he's got like a flannel on. And then there's Vic, the nerd, who's got like a vest and stuff. There's some weird bits in my part that I think they were supposed to be character development for those two, but they don't land very well.
Yeah, well, they just make dull, uninteresting chit chat for what seems like 3 hours. The nerd guy, Vic, he starts talking about how he has a gluten allergy and they need to stop to get some gluten-free beer.
Sorry, I hate to keep cutting in here. But my immediate thought was the conversation between Seth Rogen and who's the other guy in what's this fucking end of the world movie?
Jay something.
Jay Baruchel or whatever.
Jay Baruchel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in what's the movie? What's the
This is the end.
This is the end. When they get together initially, they're riding in a car, and doesn't Seth Rogen talk about not eating gluten or something?
I think so.
So that came out in like 2013. It just
So this had to have been, yeah.
it just felt eerily similar. Like they thought that was the funniest fucking thing. Snowflakes eat their non-gluten blue, and so they're like, we got to do it too. We can do it funny too.
And on that same line of thought, the director guy with the hat, Maverick, he seemed like he was trying to do James Franco's character from Pineapple Express the whole time. That's all I could think of was that character. Saul, I think is his name.
He's a kind of an amalgamation of a lot of those characters. I saw a lot of Cousin Eddie in him.
The hat especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
I should
hat.
have worn my hat.
And the neighbor in Office Space who can hear through the wall. Just that sort of loud, silly, good old boy character. You know, I mean, it's just a big cartoon. It's just a big goof.
And he brings nothing original to the part.
Nope.
So they stop for beer, and we think that was supposed to be an interesting thing, but we don't see anything of that. So we cut back to Chuck's house, and he is preparing, I'm going to guess, some sort of Marie Callender's microwave dinner.
It was a Smart Ones. I noticed it. I wrote it down. I don't know why. It was a Smart Ones. It was a Smart Ones brand.
Quick suggestion here to Brian and who's the other guy? Brian and Jesus Christ, do your research. Oh, Brian and Brian. They're both Brian. Okay. So to Brian Kilby and Brian Papandrea, if you find that your movie is a little low on the runtime, just do a bit where somebody makes a frozen meal in a microwave and just let the camera sit on them for the duration of the cooking. I thought they were going to do that. I was laughing at the thought of them doing that, and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
I was really bummed out when they pulled out of the shot. So, just a little suggestion.
Well, he sits down to watch TV, and apparently nothing happened because I wrote we go back to the cousin for the neighbor's house with the girls.
No, Nick, you missed the great cameo.
Wait, I did?
Vocal cameo.
Yeah.
When this is like a little through line that happens throughout the movie, and it's probably because maybe in their area, similar to the Illinois Valley, and a lot of places where you get these warnings about a snowstorm, and everybody starts getting real worked up for like 2 days, and then it doesn't necessarily happen. And that's something that's referenced throughout this movie, and particularly here when he's watching, he turns on the news, I guess, and you hear voices talking about there ain't no snow, there's no snow, it's gonna be a snowstorm, there's no snow, and it's Lloyd Kaufman. It's Lloyd Kaufman's voice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it sounded like Lloyd Kaufman to me, but there was no proof in the credits or anything. But it was confirmed in the featurette making of. Like they asked Lloyd Kaufman to say these lines real quick at like
a convention.
A convention.
It's so uncomfortable. You can tell that
to get him to do. I mean, why haven't he?
I'm sure you go buy a signed picture and you toss them an extra $20, and because it looks like they're off to the side of like a merch table or something. And you hear all these people, and you can see Lloyd's eyes just darting all over the place. Like, he doesn't know, who the fuck am I supposed to talk to? Just tell me what I'm supposed to say. And it's like, hey, it's a big winter storm's coming.
Yeah.
It was a bit cringy.
Yeah, sounds like it.
The most interesting part of the movie, and I did not even notice.
And I wonder why, though. I wonder why if you get Lloyd Kaufman to do your vocal cameo, why it was nowhere in the credits. Maybe that was because they realized. Maybe it's because they realized that Lloyd Kaufman didn't necessarily agree to be in a movie when he did that bit. They thought maybe he was just goofing for kid number 415 in line at Days of the Dead. He didn't maybe realize he was going to be put in a movie, so they're like, "Well, we probably should."
He commented on our YouTube video, and we put that on the box
DVD.
of the DVD.
Well, that's true. That's true.
When you get it, you use it. Anyway, so that blows over. We're back at the girls' house, and the nerd guy Vic, he's going through their eggs in their fridge. Nothing happens. Outside, we see the grease foot, and he pops over into Maverick's house, and Maverick is there eating a shrimp cocktail.
Oh, actually, there is one thing I want to point out, because we do get a small bit, just a scene where Vic and Derek have gone to the house. That was what you just went over, right? Yeah, because he's digging through the fridge. So the pairing here is Angie is into Derek, and Vic is there because of Jenny, and neither of them seem interested in each other. But the pairing of Angie and Derek makes little to no sense to me.
Yep.
We find out later that Angie was at a improv session comedy night, and that's how she met Derek. I don't believe that the character that's wearing the, I'm sorry, what was it, the decapitated numbskulls?
Cattle decapitation.
Cattle decapitation. Decapitated numbskulls. I like that though too.
So
Yeah, right there.
I found it really hard to believe that like these two would match. It's like it's either dress Derek up to be he went to a punk rock show, or Angie is kind of a straight edge nerd or something. Just make it make sense. It's just like, hey, you guys just be yourselves. Just be yourselves. It'll work.
Yeah.
I'm certain they came to set wearing the clothes that they put on that morning from their own. So
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
sure that is all the character development that we got was them randomly dressing themselves in the morning. Where were we? So Bigfoot is creeping into Maverick's house. He creeps into his wife's room where she is, I guess, sleeping, and just immediately begins performing a oral sex on Maverick's wife. Then she suddenly realizes it's not her husband. It is a giant, hairy, stinky creature. And she starts screaming. And this is the part where I honestly can't tell if Bigfoot became a rapist or not. Got very uncomfortable. Let's just say that. More clarification needed, not wanted. She's screaming. Maverick doesn't care because your wife, nag, that sort of dichotomy, I guess. So he's just slowly making his way towards the room. I think he stops for beer or something.
Well, you forgot to point out that while this is happening, he's downstairs watching the funniest sitcom or TV show. And he's got a huge bowl in his lap filled with ice, and then a tiny little dish filled with starts with the
Cocktail sauce.
Cocktail sauce, yeah, and some shrimpies. But like the bowl is massive, but it looks like there's probably 4 shrimp laid in there, and this little dish of cocktail sauce. It was very bizarre.
What do you expect?
Well, I expect them to clean their house if they know there's going to be a camera in there, and they fucking didn't.
I thought it was set dressing, Tyler.
I guess they're just an angry couple. They don't.
Well, because look at this, okay? Look how crowded that stairwell was. Okay, when Maverick is going up to the wife's bedroom where Sasquatch is doing his business with this lady who's in a facial mask, by the way.
Yeah.
And there was so much crap on the stairs. I'm like, that had to have been on purpose, right?
I believe that all of that is because later on, Maverick falls down the stairs into a pile of what looks like, well, okay, maybe I'm giving it too much credit, but it worked because he says that he's constantly ordering packages off the internet, and it looks like a bunch of packages there.
Yes, exactly.
It's technically set up.
Yeah, I hesitate to give them any sort of credit for that. Packaging is expensive.
Well, you can deduct a lot of credit for the cinematography we're about to get when Maverick goes up to the bedroom. Some of the most confusing shots and editing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Somebody didn't buy the old John Russo How to Make a Movie book from the 80s screen direction, because there's good God.
Well, so this is what happens. He goes into the house or into the room where his wife is being assaulted in some fashion, and Bigfoot rips her head off and tosses it to him. And we're led to believe that he's holding her head in his hands. They try to get creative with it. I'll let the viewers.
Well, it doesn't help that. So the shot of Maverick is you see this stagnant shot kind of angled at the door. All you see is his back and the back of his head, because he's full. He's got a robe on. He's got a hat on. You don't see his face. He's talking into a room that we can't see into. And then you cut to a shot of just like the Bigfoot arm going across the camera, then a splash of I don't know, grape jam or strawberry jelly on a picture frame, and then all of a sudden he mimes like he's catching something, and then you cut to that shot of her clearly kneeling in front of him with her head like, as he's holding it.
Face the opposite direction.
It's so confusing.
Drooling some Kool-Aid out.
I will say blood thickness was very inconsistent throughout the Big F. A different color, different consistency.
That's where the big fail was.
Oh, look out.
So he's holding the head. He begins to run out of the house. Bigfoot in tow. And then Bigfoot trips on a full beer can, and it makes a silly sound. And I appreciated that. It doesn't take much to redeem something like this in my eyes. Just throw in some silly slide whistle or a fart, and we're happy. So Maverick runs away, and he managed to run over to Chuck's house. And he tells him that there's a, quote, big hairy ass monster outside that killed his wife. And Chuck doesn't believe him. I guess I don't know if they really set up why he wouldn't believe Maverick. Maybe because
he's the zany neighbor, man. You saw the look in his eyes when he realized who that package was for. He just did not want to take it over there.
Yeah,
and I don't know what sort of windfall Maverick. I don't know if he got a work settlement or he won the lottery, but I don't get the vibe from Maverick and the missus that they are could afford a house in that subdivision.
You're right, Ryan. And I put together this story in my head. Okay, so Maverick and his wife, they're new money. Okay, they won the lottery. They have all this money. They don't know what to do with it. They don't necessarily work, which is why he's buying so much stuff online with his eBay.com, why the house is completely trashed. And that's the story that I had to put together because the writers and director didn't put that together for me.
We're doing the world building for these guys.
Yeah. Brian, you can hire us. We will punch up your script.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to. That'd be great.
Can we give quick credit to the Hitchcock Psycho shot when Maverick falls down the stairs?
Yes, I have that written down too. They did their best.
Yeah, like it doesn't look good, but it looks interesting.
There's a couple times where they actually employ the camera in a way that enhances the moment because there's a character that's getting dragged by the Bigfoot and the camera's pushing in on them and it's like it was they only did it when they knew they wanted to build a shot. And like around something they had already seen. There's nothing about this movie where it's like, we've got some original ideas on how to make this fun.
Well, that was all I had. So someone else, go ahead.
Well, so there's a line delivery here. I'm gonna play it out loud because I love it. So we've got Chuck and Maverick together. Maverick is forced his way into Chuck's house, and
what the hell is going on? There's what? There's what? You're not making any sense.
Our two creative buddies are having a ball.
I can't do it.
This was I bet it was just the two of them because Chuck, Brian, he was the cinematographer, so he probably just put that camera on a tripod, did the shot reverse shot, and those two were just making each other laugh. The wives were gone that night; they had the house to themselves, and they were just having a gas.
Boys' night.
Yeah.
Whoa, come on here. He turns into Joey Tribbiani for a second. What are you doing here? What do you mean?
Can I be real with you guys right now?
Yeah.
This silly ass line delivery. Okay, from Chuck when Maverick comes in there, that coupled with the Hitchcock shot in the previous scene, that reeled me into the movie. But specifically Chuck doing like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm like, okay, you guys are just goofing. I'm in now. Yeah. Popcorn's out. Let's do this.
I would say very similarly for me, but just because like I could tell that these were a group of friends because there's like 8 people in this movie. Yeah. They've shot this over like a couple of weekends or in like December or January, and they had a lot of fun. And you can tell every shot that there's somebody's like got a creaking smile in the background because they know something funny's gonna happen. And oh, it's cute. It's adorable. If it wasn't so filthy at the end, it would be adorable.
Yeah.
All right, so that's my part. So we leave Chuck and Maverick, and we cut to a shot of a TV playing a monologue being performed by a local improv group. There's some guy droning on in the background. It is. Hold on, I've got to play this because this is just.
Is this them? Is this something they did in the past?
This is something that Derek and Vic participate. They're part of the improv group.
Okay.
Oh, and we forgot to mention here before we cut back to Jenny, Angie, and the boys. Maverick, exclaims, "There's a big fucking monster out there!" And Chuck looks into the camera, breaking the fourth wall for the first time. Not the only time, but the first time.
Just sitting in that movie theater, and I am livid because there is someone in front of me who keeps checking their Facebook. And I said, "Hey, mister."
Okay, so I like this. I really like this.
I love it.
It's first improv. Making fun of improv comedy is always funny. Just because it's like even laymen's understand like the pretentiousness of showing somebody else your improv comedy. I loved it. I was in. I wish they. What'd you say?
Especially on tape. It's one thing to invite somebody, and then they kind of talk about this in the dialogue. It's one thing to invite somebody to your improv show. I mean, and that's been a running joke that I've seen in a lot of places where they're like, "Oh, did he invite you to his improv night?" I mean, it's a running gag, and I appreciate that. But the idea that these guys came to this house on Valentine's Day to party with these girls, and he's like, "You know what? We're bringing the DVD of our improv night."
But it's great. I wish they'd done more with it. And also, hey, Wild Eye, you blew it. I want that raw video on the DVD. I want to watch that improv because it sounds uncomfortable. It sounds weird, and I want it. So anyways, the camera's panning around the room from the TV, and we see that Angie and Derek are kind of cuddled up next to each other. Everybody's got drinks. And then
this is a great bit. That whole dialogue plays over the slow pan.
Yeah.
Them just bored. Like, this was great. This is the first thing since that weird shot of Sasquatch that I really liked.
And then we see Vic and Jenny sitting together awkwardly, clearly not into each other.
And he's loving it.
Yeah. So Derek and Vic are they're glued to the TV. They're smiling. They can't wait for the big line delivery. And Jenny politely points out, like, "Oh, so this is what an improv show is like." And Derek half-heartedly makes an excuse about, I guess you probably had to be there and stuff, but it's like he's too focused on the TV. So then Vic mansplains what the word improv means to Jenny. And I do think that is the right use of the word mansplaining because he says it in a very condescending way.
Yeah.
So Angie then explains that this is where she met Derek and Vic because she was at the show, and when the improv group asked for an object you'd find in your grandma's attic, Angie excitedly shouted out, "Dildo!" Now, I have heard the improv ask for dildo bit like 20 times in like other media. Yeah. I know for sure it's in 30 Rock.
Tyler, because it's the truth, okay? Ryan can tell you this. We cut our teeth doing improv in shitty-ass bars, okay? And here's the deal. Anytime you ask the audience for participation for an object, 9 out of 10 times they shout dildo.
Yep.
100%. Ryan, back me up on this.
Oh, Sean and I we've been in the trenches. I remember, and I'm not sure. I think Sean was probably at this show. We were doing improv at the 9th Street Pub on a Sunday night, and we were playing the history game where you ask the audience for a historical event, anything, a signing of the Declaration of Independence, fine. This guy kept yelling at Three's Company. And we're like, "No, sir." Yeah, we're like, "No, it's got to be a historical event." Three's Company. And that guy also threw a nickel at us at one point, but.
And then I tore my shirt off, like Hulk Hogan at an improv show.
So sometimes, yes.
Do we have any video footage of you guys doing improv from back in the day?
I mean, somebody probably does. I know.
Ryan,
the hunt is on.
That gasp sounded like you've got the footage.
No, I don't. I'm trying to think who might have been there.
I'm gonna private message your girlfriend right now. I'm gonna find out.
I'd have to comb the archives, but I guarantee there's something.
There's got to be something out there. Yeah, but it's not something that I don't have any. I never recorded any because we're talking. We're talking like 2003. So
yeah. And the truth is that dildo bit, yes, it may be played out. It may be cliche, but when I heard that, it hurt, man. I felt that, and I remember that.
Did you just like stare blankly across the room like a Vietnam War flashback?
Yes. Ryan and I used to call that running the gauntlet.
Yep, running the gauntlet, running the gauntlet. It's a tough world out there doing improv at places where people just don't care, where the audience thinks they're funnier than the people on stage, and they just want to be.
Yeah,
it's a tough thing.
Okay, so I rescind my indictment, Big F. I'll take that one back. But anyways, Derek shushes everybody, so he and Vic can laugh at an improver on screen saying Davenport University. That was very funny to them.
And they high five.
Yes, they did. And again, they point out that I guess you had to be there in order to get it. So Jenny and Angie then have a telepathic conversation with subtitles.
This is a good bit.
In the improv group, you hear the audio; it's droning on. So Jenny first says, "This is so lame." Angie shrugs. "I know, but what else do we got?" Jenny smiles. "Vibrator?" And you can also tell that Jenny like knew what was going to be on the screen because like she can only hold the smile for 2 seconds before she like legitimately starts laughing. Angie says, "I'm shooting for a real dick tonight." Jenny, "You're actually going to fuck him?" Angie, "I've done worse." Jenny, "What the fuck am I supposed to do?" Angie, "Get a nice finger bang from him." Jenny, "Who? Rain Man? I'd rather sit on an icicle and make a snow cone with my pussy." So
I legit laughed.
oh, Sean.
I will say this. This is a bit that I laughed as well, because not necessarily because I thought it was funny. I was thinking to myself how this could be used earlier and better. You know, this idea that they can communicate, you know, very simply. And I like the idea of like with one raised eyebrow, because they kept raising the stakes. Like at first she shrugs and that means what? But as the bit goes on, you know, with one raise of an eyebrow, it's a paragraph of dialogue.
The bit idea is very funny.
I like the idea.
But how they chose to implement that wasn't great.
No, you need to do some more, a little bit tighter actors and better talent.
Yeah.
Well, and also, like, so they try to fine line with like not even a fine line. They just tread a line with edgy humor. I'm assuming that they thought the Rain Man line was funny or something, because
I guess
like up until this point, nothing that they've established about Vic is he just looks uptight and nerdy. Like that doesn't scream Rain Man to me. Like I've never heard that being used as a pejorative against somebody who just like looks introverted.
Yeah.
But we will find out in a couple scenes from now. Like I think that's like they tried to, much like the introduction of Mia, whatever her name was, the topless girl. The introduction line comes after she's been introduced and dead and we'll never see again. We get a setup for the Rain Man bit 3 scenes later. It's very confusing. But anyways, Angie and Jenny are laughing out loud now at their conversation. It's so funny. And the guys are confused and blah, 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 but they're still focused on the improv. So Vic suggests that Derek put on the open mic set from last Wednesday. Jenny decides that I'm out now, so she excuses herself to get some air. And then just randomly, I think Vic is doing like a vocal exercise. He's just sitting on the couch going,
yeah.
I thought that was a reference to he's drinking maybe, and again, I know nothing about
an allergic thing?
Gluten. I know nothing about that world. So I don't know if that was supposed to be like he's drinking gluten beer, I guess, and it was affecting him. Maybe it does that to people with their ears. I don't know. But that's how I took it.
He drinks the beer and he does do some weird stuff. Yeah. So that makes more sense. All right, so we're back at Chuck's house. Chuck and Maverick are still glued to that door. They're like right inside the door, inside the house. And Maverick is struggling to cohesively explain what happened to him and his wife. He eventually says that there's a Bigfoot that has come to their town and it wants to eat and rape all of them at the same time. I think he means like eat and rape them at the same time. So Chuck makes the mistake of calling Maverick Mark, and this really upsets him. I did not understand this bit. I've never seen Top Gun. I will say it. So do you need to be called Maverick in Top Gun? That's the only place I know Maverick from.
Well, that's the character.
It's his call sign.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're just
setting up called Maverick.
No, that's what you call him. Like Luke Skywalker is Red 5. Tom Cruise is Maverick. Yeah. Anthony Edwards is Goose, Iceman. I don't know.
There's Goose and there's Iceman.
It comes
I
up
thought they
several
were
times throughout the movie.
I think it's just he's trying. It's like when George wanted to pick his own nickname.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
It's that bit.
That's how I took it, is that he gave himself the Maverick nickname, and he doesn't. No, you don't call me that. You call me Maverick. I'm Maverick. He's created a persona essentially. And
Gotcha. So Chuck goes for his Golden Globes moment and overacts at Mark's absurd urban legend story. Chuck stops Maverick from saying anything else and then dumps some exposition about how he has been polite through the last 6 years while Maverick's been in his neighborhood. But he's tired of dealing with this insane bullshit. He then goes for his Oscar moment while explaining he would have changed his whole life and moved away if he knew who his neighbor was going to be. It's just more of like, you could tell these two guys are having a blast. That was a fun night of filming. And it's just, you either buy into it and you're glad that they're having a good time, or it probably infuriates you if you hate this movie, because it's like, nobody should have fun watching this. But Maverick insists that Chuck look outside, and if he did, he would see Bigfoot, but Chuck goes to force him out of the house when the power goes out. And in the darkness, there's a small beat, and this was the first laugh out loud moment I had. You hear Maverick go, "Yes, Bigfoot." Just real, "Yeah, it's Bigfoot." And I laughed. So Chuck still kicks Maverick out, and we cut to Jenny walking outside in her big fur coat to get some air. She sees Chuck dragging Maverick by the back of his neck back to his house, and claims, "Oh no, he's drunk. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it." When suddenly Bigfoot strikes and he knocks Chuck down and Maverick down. And then we get, the further evolution of the tale of Bigfoot's lost love. Maverick looks up to see Bigfoot's very tiny penis. And it is odd. It's like a pale acorn on a stem.
It's very thin.
Yes, it's thin. It's like if they had a mold.
It's really something, man.
It's like they had a mold, and overnight it kind of settled into itself and got even smaller and thinner. It's very bizarre.
It's like, when you would draw as a kid, you would draw flowers and you would try and draw a tulip, and it would just be a line, and then it would be like the big cup with the jagged teeth thing, kind of like in Mario Brothers. That's what it looks like, but just drooping down.
Oh God!
It's got a large. Not large. It's still small, but it's mushroomy and bulbous. It's got a healthy urethra.
So Jenny runs over to Chuck's side while Maverick stares at Bigfoot's penis a little bit longer before punching it. Jenny and they don't set this up at all, and they absolutely needed to for what we're going to see at the ending. But there's this shot of Jenny kind of this actress has not crafted. She has perfected the dead-eyed stare, because it's just and then you see the superimposed shot of the Bigfoot's or Greasefoot's face. So you kind of get them across the sides of the frame. And
love Greasefoot.
Little did I know how important this shot would be for later in the film. Yeah. But anyways, they're having some sort of moment.
Mesmerized. Yeah.
But they didn't set up. It's not like you see Bigfoot fall down and he look over at Jenny. It's just all of a sudden you just see the shot of these two being superimposed on each other. Very important. So Maverick grabs Jenny and they all run into Jenny's aunt and uncle's house. So back inside with, Derek, Vic, and Angie. So everybody, all of our heroes assemble in the foyer of that house. Maverick and Vic have this back and forth about JFK, where Maverick looks like he's a lunatic and they paint Vic like an autistic savant. So that's what I assumed was the Rain Man comment, because he's like, "Oh yes, JFK was killed, blah, 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 on this date," and it was just bizarre. So Chuck Screaming tells everybody, calm down, while bits of styrofoam fall out of his hair, which I assume was supposed to be snow, but was not.
Yeah.
He asks if anyone has a phone in 2015. I don't know how they all don't just have phones. Apparently Chuck is from a different age. But Derek volunteers his phone, and then very haphazardly, you can tell he's intentionally going to drop it. He's pulling it out of his pocket, "Oh!" And then you get this very off-putting, not mixed in well sound of glass shattering. And it's so I laughed, it was very poorly done, but maybe that was the intent. So the phone's broken immediately. Don't even look at it to check. And then Angie pulls her cell phone out from her bra, hands it to Maverick, and Chuck, quite intelligently, I must add, I was very surprised at how smart this was, tells Maverick, say that there is an intruder. He doesn't say this specifically to not mention Bigfoot, but that's what he means, is just say that there's an intruder. And Maverick, of course, calls the cops, and then they say, he says, I want to report a Bigfoot sighting, while looking directly into the camera. So the setup is, hey, make sure that you just say that it's an intruder. Say that there's an intruder. Maverick's looking down, looks up into the camera. I want to report a Bigfoot sighting. Oh, it was great. And the audience laughed. It was very fun. So long story short, dispatcher hangs up on him because she thinks it's a crank call. Everyone's arguing about whether there is or is not a Bigfoot. And then for some reason, not very well established, Derek is the tough guy now. And he insists that it's just a dude fucking around outside. And he's going to go outside and take care of business. But in what I did, this was a joke that was too smart for me. Lisa laughed immediately. She got it right away. He yes-ands himself literally into grabbing a weapon. And
I like that. And I like that because of the callback to the improv. He goes, yes, and which is, the biggest rule of improvisation. And I did laugh at that as well. And I was like, okay, it's a fun callback to these guys are improv fanatics. So
yeah. Well, and then I'm assuming nobody laughed at the next joke because I didn't get it one fucking bit.
This history lesson that we
yes. Derek has grabbed we don't establish that it's there. I mean, I know that we've set up these houses as being full of shit. But there's apparently a massive door chime sitting there. And so he grabs this, copper looking chime and he said, I'm going to go outside and beat the hell out of whoever's there with this door chime. And then somebody asks about it. And Maverick asks, like, what's a door chime? Like completely breaking character, normal guy. What's a door chime? And Derek explains what a door chime is. And I feel like even kids would know what a door. I mean, am I crazy? Like, I mean, I remember my grandparents having one of those old door chimes, But I guess this was supposed to be funny because very deadpan, we get an explanation of what a door chime is and that, maybe you don't see it. Maverick asks, can I get one of these at Lowe's? And Derek laments that he's not sure that they make them anymore. So
I appreciated the history lesson on the door chimes. I did 100%. I thought it was unnecessary. I didn't think it was funny. I thought it was absurd, but I appreciated it.
Yeah, because it kind of falls on that line of, yes, it would be ridiculous in that moment of violence and terror that it's supposed to be. Your average human being would stop for a moment to explain the door chime. You just keep moving on. It's that absurd moment where it's like, no, well, actually, a door chime. I did smile at that. And also, I didn't know if this was supposed to be following along still the yes and joke, because everything builds on what was said beforehand. So yes, and he asked, well, what's a door chime? Well, in improv, you wouldn't just say, who cares? It's the yes and. Well, now that he's asking me about a door chime, I have to explain what a door chime is. So I don't know if that was all just one big whole yes and goof, or that was just its own bit.
Maybe.
It could be. Maybe it's like a meta joke on improv comedy in general.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that smart.
Yeah, see, there's that thing we run into. It's like we do this often with these movies. Is we think of things like this, but I'm not convinced the director was even thinking that. No. Like we're putting all this into it, and there's like the director's probably like, no.
Well, I don't know if we've had this conversation before or not, but randomly, I don't know if I was laying in bed at night or if I was in the bathtub, and all of a sudden it hit me. I'm like, oh wait a minute, in Grace's room. We set up this band, Maces to Faces, who have this iconic song. I don't know if it's Maces to Faces or Hit Faces with Maces. But later in the movie, our leads are hit in the face with mace, like sprayed mace, not like a mace. I don't remember doing that intentionally, but I feel very smart now.
Yeah.
Does anybody?
It felt intentional. I always thought it was a purposeful goof.
Well, thank you for thinking that we were smart enough to know what we were doing, but I don't remember doing that intentionally.
It was lost on me.
Yeah,
it was a real heady film. I couldn't follow it.
You got to be really smart to really understand Grace's room.
I just like the deer mace part of it. I didn't go any deeper into that. I was just laughing at the surface level of the deer mace. Like, oh, deer mace, who would mace a deer? Because that I didn't even think about that connection. So that's new to me.
So specific because we in the universe there's a song that the leads sing. We hit maces, or we are maces to faces. We hit faces with maces. And then it happens. Not the same kind of mace, but.
From now on, if anybody ever asks you, Tyler, that was absolutely deliberate.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut all this out.
Yeah, it's just for us.
Yeah. So anyways, so Derek turns to Angie and he says, "You know what? If I make it out of this thing, I promise we're gonna pork." And she says, and I quote, "Ugh, that just watered me down." So I thought a lot about that line because my initial thought is, well, if you're wet, that implies the opposite. I know she probably means like I'm a wet towel in regards to being interested in this.
Like she was hot and now it watered her down, you know.
Yeah. So, well, okay, that makes a little bit more sense to me because the first time I was like, shouldn't she be dried up? Like, I was thinking too much about the physical implication here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time to think about a lot of stuff because there's not a lot on screen to hold your attention.
When
a lot of times for our minds to wander.
Yeah.
Anyways, they all give him some mild encouragement and he heads out the door. There's a bit of everyone looking nervous and then it's a little quiet and then Maverick says, "We're fucked," and we laughed. Because it was funny. So Derek wanders around the front yard and he says to himself, "Oh, the things I do for pussy." We've all been there, right, guys? Gonna go beat a grease foot with a door chime.
Yeah, I remember that one bleak Valentine's Day when I had to kill Bigfoot.
So we got my second, like, very heartily laugh of this movie. We see this we just cut to this random shot of Angie and Jenny and Vic on the other side. We're outside the house looking at the window, and Vic is a very tall man, and Angie and Jenny are rather short. And they're all illuminated with purple light, and they're all just like staring, like very stoically. You just cut to the shot like it's like the intro of Bohemian Rhapsody, the music video. I fucking laughed my ass off. I thought it was very funny.
And they cut back to them and react a few times.
Yeah,
it's great.
So Derek, with the help of some machismo and piss poor editing, threatens whoever is out there. He finds a greasefoot footprint and exclaims that it is indeed a Bigfoot print. He turns around directly into Bigfoot, who does a sledgehammer two-fisted crunch down on his head, knocking him into the snow. And actually, now that I think about it, because I have a lot of questions, he does not move from that spot. Was he paralyzed? Now that I think about it, because
he's moving his legs later when he's upside down in the thing.
Yeah,
he's kicking his legs.
Because there's no reason that he doesn't get up. Because we immediately see Bigfoot step on his head, and so you're expecting, we're gonna look back and there's a crushed watermelon or something. Nope, he literally like wipes his face off. I don't know if that was a bit, yeah. But he doesn't get up from that spot. And while that's happening, Bigfoot then goes off camera. Comes back on with a hobo garbage can, begins to throw wood into it and kindling, and then reaches in and does the little twist the stick in there to start a fire. All of this is going on while we're cutting to shots of him laying in the snow watching this happen, and we see everybody inside. And for some reason in this moment, Vic just very awkwardly, he's looking outside the window, and then he kind of looks around the room and then just like leaves and goes out the front door. And, you assume that, maybe he's going to go save his friend, or, they're going to do he's bailing bit. More confusing. He goes to Derek's car. I don't know why he thought that he would be safer in the car. He doesn't leave. He stays in that car for the rest of the movie. But he goes to the car, very confusing, and Bigfoot grabs Derek, drags him over to the now burning garbage can, and tries to push him in. And this is where you get the clear shots, Nick, of his hands, and it just looks like, well, apparently grease. He's greasefoot.
Very greasy strangler.
Yeah. Yes. That's what it is. This is
especially with the long, gross hair. It reminds me of that old man's hair.
Yeah.
A lot of weird dick jokes in Greasy Strangler. Real pointy dicks.
Yeah.
God, what a great movie.
So Bigfoot manages to get him into the garbage can. And we cut to inside the house, and Angie screams, "God damn it," because she's not going to get laid now. But unfortunately, you undercut that when she said that she was watered down. So, yeah. I mean, I get it. It's fine. I guess she changed her mind. She still wanted that D, but I don't know. Derek wasn't worth it. he just was. Angie, you can do better than that. Bigfoot is holding Derek's legs and pushing him down in the fire. People at home, now you're probably imagining this very tense moment. Derek is, half his body is submerged in this flaming garbage can, and you're probably guessing that it's nothing but bloody murder screams. Just, ah, ah. No, actually, this is what you hear. Oh. That's not even a joke. It's like they had one clip of him going, oh, and they just looped it.
Well, what I got out of that, and this only came after I watched the featurette where they were doing the ADR, and it was there's somebody on that couch who's not in the movie. I thought maybe they were recording that after the fact, obviously, but they didn't have the actor who played Derek. So they're like, well, we need you to try and sound kind of like Derek, but we can't go too hard because you don't sound like Derek. So just kind of do a weird voice. And like they were just trying to make that's not what I took from it, is that it wasn't Derek, the actor, at all.
You don't hear the sound of like the garbage can getting hit or anything like that. It's just very awkward. Just like you see Greasefoot holding two legs that are clearly stuffed with newspaper and just.
Well, now that you bring that up, that jogs my memory. There's a couple of moments, and one of those moments happens when Vic is going through the fridge when they first get to the party, where there's no. The sound design just drops out completely, except for one weird background thing. So in that scene with Vic and he's going through the fridge, it's him and he's grabbing eggs and he's grabbing, he's doing stuff that should make noise, but all we're hearing is whatever TV show they're watching in the background.
Yes.
And it's just it's weird. Obviously they were doing sound because they put sound in there, but why didn't they go the extra 9 and just make little noises of eggs and you do some Foley work? So
that's too much work for them. Come on now.
Well, we get.
They're going to be clinking eggs around.
we get another classic bit where Chuck's inside and he says, "You know what? I think he might still be alive." Cut to Bigfoot throwing Derek's legs into the fire and then reaching in and pulling out some cooked ribs.
This is a great bit. I love this.
Oh, he says it smells pretty good.
Yeah, Maverick is into it. He has this little monologue where he's like, "Oh man, I don't know. Doesn't that smell kind of good? Kind of like." Is that sweet?
I ain't no cannibal or nothing, but that's pretty good.
Yeah. I'd eat him is what I'm saying. So then we cut to Vic. We knew Vic went into a car, but we finally cut to him in it, and he's got a camera and he begins to vlog about his experience. And he's just sitting there with a lighter and a camera, and I don't understand what this is supposed to be. If this is supposed to be a spoof of found footage movies or something like that, and it's just like they didn't know how to end the moment, so they just cut to a shot of like the Bigfoot by the garbage can, and he just like throws something at the can and it goes ding, and then they move to the next scene. And I am done.
The thing about the kid with the camera, they never if on the drive when Vic and Derek were driving to the party, if that was something that was established that he does video logs, he does these vlog things, then it would have made sense that he wants to get out to the car and continue to the ultimate vlog. I mean, how often do you get attacked by a Bigfoot?
Yeah.
But there's never any reason to believe that he was the kind of guy that was talking to a camera and want to document everything. But in this moment, now he's Mr. Video documentarian. And it just, either whether it was a spoof of Blair Witch or something or not, you know what? It came out of nowhere. It was pointless.
They really missed out here. I'm picturing Derek using the power of improv to fight Greasefoot, and maybe somehow like confusing him into thinking he's not in the world that he's in. It's like yes-anding him and getting him set up for stuff, and Vic is like, "Oh, this is great! I got to get the camera for this," and then he runs out to get the camera, and then of course, you can't fool Greasefoot too long, and then in the garbage can you go.
Before we put Derek in his fiery barbecue Greasefoot grave, can I point out something? Does anybody watch Schitt's Creek?
Yes.
Okay, because I thought I had to look it up that Derek was actually the actor Dustin Milligan who plays the veterinarian on Schitt's Creek.
It looks like
I was so unsure. I had to look it up, and he's the only actor in the Big F who has a legit headshot. And apparently, he's worked crew for Batman vs Superman.
I mean, I wish it would have been the guy from Schitt's Creek. Because talk about a Cinderella story. 2015, you're shooting a Big F, and now you're on this huge show that everybody loves, and that would have been a redeeming story.
I'm telling you, if you're not familiar, look it up, because I was blindsided when he originally came on the screen. I'm like, there's no fucking way that's the dude from Schitt's Creek at the Big F.
So are we saying that the opposite of a flourishing career is a Greasefoot story?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have a Cinderella story or you can have a Greasefoot story.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we have Vic, the nerd, the gluten-free nerd. He's in the car. He's got his, I don't know if it's a VHS camera, whatever. We're doing the found footage thing. We got the recorder on the screen, and maybe this is just me putting the piece together for the filmmakers, like I've been doing this entire thing. But I think that camera is the same one that they use to film their improv shows and their open mics.
Oh,
Yeah, I bet.
yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing that made sense to me. That otherwise, why would you have established them bringing these DVDs and these videos and having their pre-recorded performances and everything like that?
Yeah.
It still doesn't make sense that he decided to run off and film himself in a car while his best friend presumably is getting beaten to death and eaten by Greasefoot. But I digress. So it's now at this point, which we are 42 minutes into the film, that we establish once again it's Valentine's Day.
Yeah, don't forget.
Yep.
Worst Valentine's Day ever.
Yeah, and folks, this is the point in the movie where you should really have the candles lit, and you should have finished dinner and you're working your way through the chocolate mousse, and it's almost time. It is almost time for that sweet, sweet bedroom dessert.
Well, speaking of candles lit, the power is out, as we have already established. So there are candles lit in the house, and everybody besides Derek, who is now barbecue, is trying to come up with a plan. And they're like, "What's going on? Is it some kind of bear?" I think we've already established that it's Greasefoot. It's a Bigfoot, but the women are still questioning the validity of the Sasquatch creature, and this is where Maverick is helping himself to some food in the house because the power's out. It's going to spoil anyway, so might as well. I'm the obnoxious cousin Eddie neighbor. That's what I do. And it's at this point where Maverick goes into the legend of Greasefoot, of the Squatch. Around the fire, he's telling the legend of Sasquatch. And you learn that the Sasquatch, it's not new to Maverick because once a year he goes on a Bigfoot expedition. And we learn a little bit of something about the Bigfoot, because Bigfoot will only see or hear him. You only see or hear him if he allows you to. So we established a little something about the Bigfoot, which is curious that, and I almost thought that Tyler brought up this movie on purpose, not just because of Valentine's Day, but did you guys hear about this a couple of weeks ago? That a legit Oklahoma state representative, Justin Humphrey, filed a measure that calls on a state conservative department for an actual Bigfoot hunting season to coincide with a Bigfoot festival in Oklahoma.
Oh my God.
It's about time.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Yes, Sean,
Tourist dollars, man. Tourist dollars.
I absolutely did that. So
$25,000 bounty for Squatch. He must be brought alive. No killing.
What? Well, wait, hold on a second. So,
Well, that's an Incredible Hulk episode. There's an episode. Actually, there's an episode of the original, the old Incredible Hulk show where there's this town that's been a tourist town that's dying, and then so one of the guys pretends to be Bigfoot up in the woods, and at one point, then he pisses off Bruce Banner or David Banner in the show, and he turns, and then you get Hulk versus fake Sasquatch. Remember, this is an Incredible Hulk episode.
but also, we're predicating this upon the idea that hey, maybe Bigfoot isn't real. Why not make the bounty like $1 million? Really get those people like worked up,
That's what I'm saying. Well, there's no reason not to. But just throwing this out there, animal activists have come out and been vocal. Pigs should be protected. These creatures should be preserved in their natural environment. This is all legit news. It's a new kind of species. We don't even know. We need every federal law to protect these things.
I guarantee you, I hope my dad doesn't come across that news story, because he's the only person in my life I've had an argument about whether Bigfoot's real or not. So my dad would go there. He would go there. His argument is like, well, we don't really know. I'm like, yes, we do. We know the history of where Bigfoot came from. It's a whole thing. He's fought me tooth and nail more than one occasion about whether Bigfoot could be a thing. So I hope he doesn't read that story, because he'll go there.
Well, majority of us are, in the land of Lincoln right now, and Illinois has the 5th highest Bigfoot sighting in the U.S.
Yeah,
296. So maybe your dad's part of those, Ryan.
I wouldn't be totally surprised. But he can't use the internet. So if those were, put through the internet, he's got to actually call somebody to report.
In the movie, while Maverick is giving all this backstory on the Bigfoot, we keep cutting to shots of Chuck. These ISO shots of Chuck that are really tight. He has a different haircut, right? Like, his hair looks cut. I'm looking at it right now. Like, he's freshly trimmed. Because he kind of has some, he's balding, and he's got, like, some shaggy do going on. But, like, that's a different haircut.
I didn't notice.
Oh, I spotted it right away. Like, I don't know if it's because my hairline is almost gone, and it's just like, see
it.
You got to trim.
Maybe they called him.
While we're also critiquing that scene, there's something I don't know if anyone picked up. Maybe I'm just stupid, but throughout this whole scene, if you look at like the what's it called, a bokeh, like the little like pings of light, where they're in the shape of like a 6-pointed star, all of them, which seems odd to me. And maybe it's the cheaper the camera, the more that happens, but it's just, I think I only noticed it in this scene.
Oh yeah. I'm guessing it's because you take the native shot, this is at most shot in 720. Like, I can't imagine it's anything higher than that. And I bet it was like pitch black, because the shot of Chuck's face, it's nothing but artifacts. It's like it's like watching Tony Stark nanotech building the shot as you're watching it. And so like the candles are so blown out. It's like they've burned a hole in the celluloid, and it's just hot white.
It's just like black almost in certain spots.
So that's why I think that's happening, because in Chuck's eyes, you see what light is hitting them, like it's sparkling, like it's the North Star. I
have a vague understanding of why that happens in camera, and I know you can like make it to make different shapes if you really want to get a certain effect. So I wasn't sure, are they trying to do something here that I'm missing, or is it just stupid and poor quality?
No,
poor quality always wins out in these situations.
They don't understand that how it looks on that 1.5-inch monitor attached to the side of the camera doesn't look like that what's going to be on your computer when you're editing it.
Oh, they didn't know any better.
I mean, a group of wacky filmmakers who can't seem to understand the 180-degree rule are probably not the guys that whatever trick that is. I mean, maybe not. Who knows?
Or they might be the perfect ones, like, oh, we got to do this cool thing and put it in here for no reason. I expect.
The Big F is good at giving you questions, but not answers.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, Sean, get us out of this scene.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Maverick's up there. He's giving his origin story. And you learn that through Maverick's Bigfoot expeditions, it's actually his fault that Greasefoot has come to this quiet suburban Michigan neighborhood, because he had a spiritual connection with the big guy there in the North Woods, wherever he was doing his hunting, and that he somehow he established that Greasefoot followed him here to the suburb. I don't know if it was a stank, I don't know if it's the hat, maybe you want to wear it, whatever it was. So they need to come up with a plan. How are they going to deal with Greasefoot, right? So you find out.
So apologies. I definitely went to the bathroom during this because I was bored out of my mind.
Okay.
That is a great setup for a character moment where, like, why isn't this like, oh, the Greasefoot wants Maverick more than anybody? It wants Maverick. Maybe Maverick took a couple shots at it. That's why it went after his wife first. And Chuck and Maverick having, a clash, of, hey, get out of the house, man. I'm going to protect the ladies. You get out of here. Like, this is your business. And Maverick goes out on his own and all this stuff. I know that he technically takes the initiative to fight the Greasefoot later. But I wish that they had expounded upon that. Make it dead serious for about 15 minutes with a lot of emotional growth.
You could add a little bit of weight to it, you know. But no, not in the Big F. No, we don't need any more weight in the Big F. It's all in the feet. So you find out Maverick, he's got a whole artillery in his basement, and he's been preparing for this his whole life. This showdown with Greasefoot. So, and we learned from his time in the North Woods that Bigfoot, when he eats like he just ate our friend there with the plaid shirt and the beard, Bigfoot needs a power nap. He needs a little snoozer. when he dines on some barbecue. So they know they got at least 20 minutes before they can establish the artillery and go to attack them. And at this point, Maverick uttered one of my favorite lines in the entire film. He said, what's his face? The neighbor, Chuck. Chuck told him to be careful. I eat careful for breakfast. Shit, safety for lunch. Good times. Good times.
It's for lunch. Yeah. On top
Doesn't even make any sense. Yeah. Doesn't make any sense.
He skips lunch. He just shits on lunch. So
Yeah.
he feeds in the morning and he feeds at night and he shits in that's his lunch hour.
So at this point, we go. So Maverick is going off to get his artillery in his basement because Bigfoot's snoozing. So and then we go back to Vic, who's still doing his Steadicam Blair Witch thing in the car, trying to capture this whole thing from his vehicle. And then at this point, I don't know if anybody else got this or noticed this, but we get the classic, iconic, cliche Bigfoot shot.
Yes.
From Vic's perspective with Maverick as Bigfoot looking at the camera.
Yes. I thought that was good. I got a chuckle out of it.
I like that.
I mean, it's the little things in the big F sometimes, you know, you take those small victories every once in a while. So Maverick goes off and he does this thing. And then we've got, geez Louise, I can't keep these characters straight.
Chuck and Jenny.
Chuck and Jenny. We got Chuck and Jenny. They're in the house. The power's out. They're making a fire. And I like that they call out the fact that Bigfoot, Greasefoot, was able to make a fire somehow just using 2 sticks. And they call out the absurdity of that. Like, man, it's hard to do this. How did Greasefoot do it?
Also, Brian and Brian, Nick is going to definitely be copywriting or patenting that phrase. So Greasefoot is Nick's. And by virtue of that, ours. It's all of ours because Nick's a nice guy. So don't you dare make the Big F2 Revenge of Greasefoot.
What they do.
We got to make it first.
Yeah.
So yes. We've got Jenny and Chuck. They're sitting there and they want to do a little smoking. It's been a stressful night dealing with Greasefoot. So they toke up. They have a little wacky tobacco, a little the jazz lettuce, the devil's weed, and start doing this thing. And that's when we start learning about these characters 50 minutes into the movie, finally.
Yeah.
We learn that Chuck, while he's in that really nice house in the suburbs all by himself, he's currently going through a divorce. And this is where Jenny gets the biggest monologue of the entire movie. Mm-hmm. It's very similar to Phoebe Cates' monologue in Gremlins.
and when we get to my section, the very, very end of the movie, it is not a coincidence that there is a Gremlins reference in this movie.
So she has this huge monologue, and you find out it's Christmas, and she takes her boyfriend to Christmas Eve at her parents' house, and everything is going great. It's the most picturesque Norman Rockwell Christmas you could ever imagine. Things are going great until she goes to bed and she finds her ex-fiance and her little bro doing the nasty.
Yeah, instead of a Santa Claus, her dad is Santa Claus rotting inside the flute, the chimney, the flue. It's her brother having loud anal sex.
And what perturbed me a little bit, okay, it seemed that Jenny wasn't so disturbed the fact that her boyfriend was getting it on with her little brother. It was the fact that he was the one taking it. And that's what really disturbed her. She's like, sometimes you don't really know somebody. And I don't know why that's what upset her, but it did. And so it's awkward, but they're high. And then we realize that Chuck has gotten a Valentine card, and it's time to open up that Valentine's card. But all that card is just a Valentine from the Hair Restoration Institute.
Poor guy.
You know, we all have our issues. It's fine. You know, that Valentine quickly goes into the fire. And this is where, as Butcher the Baker's alums, things really amp up here for the crew. Because we got Maverick going into his house with a old school preparation montage, getting ready to suit up to fight Greasefoot. And we got who's Thug Slayer, who's doing the soundtrack to this one?
Flasher Day.
Slayer.
So far, there's two bands I want to exist from this podcast. We've got what did Tyler initially say? Decapitated weirdos, or
something like that.
and then now Thug Slayer.
Thug Slayer.
I think Thug Slayer is also a DJ. He's got a band, but he's also a DJ.
Hey man, you gotta have a side hustle, right? So Maverick is in his house by himself. He's in the preparation montage. The soundtrack is bumping. He puts on the standard Michael Myers grease junkie navy jumpsuit. There's a lot of odd transitions going on.
There's a freeze frame in there.
Yeah, it's a freeze frame. There's a lot of wipes. He's popping on hockey pads and a World War I helmet and some hockey gloves, and it's all very strange and somewhat comical, I guess. And at one point, he tries to get in the gun safe to get the artillery, and he tries doing that with the hockey gloves on to comic effect. But he finds out his wife, who was recently raped and killed by Greasefoot, she locked the safe. She locked the safe with his artillery, so he just had to go with the machete. The old school machete.
It actually says machete in it. So
yes, he does. Yes, he does.
So there's another way we know when it had to have been shot.
Has to be
fans.
Yeah,
It has to be post. Yeah, it's got to be post that at least. So.
And I believe after that iconic freeze frame, I say iconic very loosely. We get it. It's Maverick time, Bigfoot.
Man.
Yeah, it's good times. And then we go back to Vic, who's still doing his Blair Witch thing, his found footage thing, recording all the action from the car. So he's not recording anything because Bigfoot's been sleeping for the last 20 minutes. And that's when Sasquatch or Greasefoot does what Greasefoot does, and he finds Vic hiding out in the car. Oh, he gets ripped in half.
He sure does.
little side note there.
We barely knew Vic.
I know.
Sidebar.
Can I say this quick about Vic if I will? I think Vic as an actor, his best moments were while he was doing his cam thing in the car.
He works best alone.
He works best alone.
Yeah, well, I start with Angie masturbating. That's where. So we after all this action and Vic is dead, we cut to Angie, who doesn't know any of this is going on because she went upstairs to masturbate. Since her potential lover for the evening is dead, she's like, well, got to get a nut. So she's upstairs and she's masturbating. And she's also, in true Big F fashion, she's saying silly stuff that's nonsensical. As she's masturbating, she's talking about pretzels and cheese
or something about it puts the jelly on this
spread it all over some shit.
Yeah, she's doing some silly, filthy talk. And Bigfoot walks in. Bigfoot, who just killed Vic, he comes walking in, and Angie looks up and is like, oh shit. But then she immediately sees his small penis. And she jokes about his small dick. And she says, oh, you know what they say? I guess it's wrong what they say about guys with big feet. And Grease Stick. I mean, Greasefoot. It's because I'm reading my notes where I wrote small dick and I'm thinking Greasefoot. So Greasefoot then starts slapping.
He's slapping it.
Like slapping it. He's not tugging. He's not caressing. He's not squeezing. He's not tickling. He is slapping it.
And it's using like the same like sound every time it. So I had a bit of an existential moment in this during this scene, and because before I watched this, I saw the trailer, I looked at some stills and stuff like that. I'm like, the Big F. Okay, to me, I thought it was like setting up like, oh, it's mating season. It's the Big F, the big fuck. It's the one time Squatch has got to go out there and get it.
Yeah,
and that's what this is all about. But they don't really set that up. It's basically like, I'm scientist man, and this is my brother. He's part ape, and I've got to get him laid because he won't pay attention to the experiments. And so I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's out the window. But then they have all these bits where women laugh at his small penis. And so I was like, oh, wait a minute. Is this about like the fragile male ego? Is this about, men not being able to handle, it's not about your junk, it's about what's inside that counts.
Sure.
Or is it simply just about big feet mean small penis joke?
That one.
Yeah. It's what if Bigfoot had a little tiny wiener?
Okay.
And then we got 80 minutes.
It's a very concise description. It's perfect.
Well, I totally missed that bit when Greasefoot breaks into the house finally, and then Chuck and Jenny are hiding from Greasefoot under a table, and he stands in front of them, and they should be cowering in terror, but his tiny grease dick is exposed, and then they have to hold back their laughter as it's hanging in front of them while they're trying to hide for their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. So Greasefoot. I would have a hard time. I'll call him Grease Dick the rest of the time. Greasefoot is slapping his dick around. He's doing his best to get his jollies, and it's not. Yeah, things aren't happening. And yes, that's what Edgy said. She goes, "Never mind. There's nothing you can do with me. Maybe might fuck my belly button, but even that wouldn't. Essentially, he talks about her belly button. His penis wouldn't even pleasure her via her belly button, and this infuriates Greasefoot. And he picks up Angie and he smashes her up against the ceiling. He smashes her head up, kills her, crushes her head.
Did you notice anything interesting about that, Ryan?
What?
Did you notice that the blood stain already on the ceiling?
No, I didn't. I didn't catch that, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. That was take 3, and they're like, "That's the best take." We're not. They didn't have time to reset. It was getting late. They'd already been called off for a snow day. The next day, they knew they were going to work in school, and they're like, "Shit, we got to finish up Grease Stick movie." So they couldn't reset. I should say before he smashes her head, Maverick has gotten back into the house, and then he explains about the gun. All he has is the machete, and they're like, "Why did you just bring that? I thought you were bringing artillery." And he explains, "Well, my wife locked the door, whatever." Lock the safe. So Bigfoot smashes Angie's head. She falls down dead, and it cuts to Maverick, Chuck, and Jenny. They're already upstairs and in the room. So they didn't bother to shoot them, sneak up there. It just cuts, and they're just, "Oh, I didn't see you guys here." So Maverick and Bigfoot start I wrote Maverick and Bigfoot comedically fight. If that makes any sense. It's a long comedic battle, but it's not really funny.
Yeah.
And also, it looks like this is 2 separate locations. You have the shot of Maverick and Bigfoot, probably in a basement because it looks like cement walls, like messing around, boxes of Christmas lights and smacking into stuff. And then you've got Jenny and Chuck in the reverse, where it looks like they're standing in like a living room or something. It just looked like 2 completely different locations.
Well, yeah, it's the screen direction issues. They weren't thinking about the edit in a lot of these cases, and it's just, things don't cut together well at all. Especially when you start getting action sequences of any kind in this movie, any violent sequences, the things just don't cut together very well.
Well, it doesn't help that there's, and I understand the irony in me saying this, but that there's spray paint all over the walls. And I'm like, what's all the spray paint on the walls? What's going on here? But at least in our movies, there was context for it.
Oh,
yeah. We made it into a joke. This is just a weird X on the wall.
So, yes, Maverick and Greasefoot have a fight where Maverick is talking shit to Greasefoot. Oh, no. And basically, he's thrown out the window. Maverick is thrown out the window by Greasefoot and knocks him unconscious.
You mean the Maverick dummy? The Maverick dummy was thrown out the window.
So Chuck and Jenny take this opportunity to head downstairs, but no sooner do they get down there, but Greasefoot attacks and just starts pummeling Chuck unmercifully. Like Chuck is on his back on the floor, and Greasefoot is just bringing his big old greasy paws down on Chuck's chest, and Chuck's spitting blood. Anybody else would have been dead from this attack. The other people in this movie died from less. Greasefoot had to do less to kill them. He had very little effort to rip Vic in half, but his pummels upon Chuck's chest,
Also, there's clear proof here that Chuck got a haircut, because it's more well lit here, and because in the earlier shots he's kind of got that I'll grow it out and kind of fluff it up and add some volume. And he looks better with it trimmed. Brian, you look great. You're looking good.
So. All right, let's see. I wrote shitty face. I'm trying to think what that means. Shitty face. I think this is the first time we see his face. Yeah. This is the first time we see clearly Greasefoot's face in all of its quote unquote glory. It is the same actor who played his brother, not Dr. Skeleton. What was it? Dr. Scientist.
That's another band I want to see, Ryan.
Dr. Skeleton.
Dr. Skeleton.
We have 3 artists now. We can do a whole festival. So
Greasefoot 2021.
The Malevolent Music Festival.
Isn't there a Bigfoot Music Fest? Isn't there one?
There used to be.
We're bringing it back, and although it's Greasefoot. So yeah, we see Greasefoot's face in all its glory, and yeah, he's just wearing this wig. It's the same actor. I mean, right down to he's got the same little weird goatee that he had, the wispy little beard and mustache thing. But then they built up this eyebrow piece slightly on him. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the early days of Star Trek, the first season. The Klingons, they weren't as crazy as they got with the makeup. It was those early days of Klingon makeup. It kind of reminded me of just a little bit of a Cro-Magnon brow.
Or low budget Geico caveman.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a great example of what to kind of think about. So that's Greaseface's face, or Greasefoot.
Greasefoot's face.
Greaseface,
Greaseface's grease. It's my retiring grease. All right, what do I got? All right, okay. So in this moment, this is where things get weird. And it sucks that I got this segment because I didn't want to talk about this. But here's what happens in this movie, The Big F. So, not Maverick.
Jenny.
Jenny, but with the other Chuck. Chuck's down for the count. He's dead as far as we know. Maverick is dead as far as we know. They're out of it. Jenny, in this moment, Greasefoot looks at her. Jenny starts whimpering and saying stuff like, no, you don't need to do anything. You're good, be quiet, whatever. And then they lock eyes, and she goes into a trance. She just the same sort of thing that happens earlier in the movie when her and Greasefoot lock eyes. She's transfixed, and Greasefoot picks her up. He lays her back on the couch. He's touching her. She's just staring up at him, still in this trance. He's rubbing his legs, and now we cut to Greasefoot's boner, which becomes slow erect, complete with a creaky door sound effect.
Yeah, that was good. I liked, Yeah.
Well, that's the last thing you're gonna like for about the next 60
That is the last thing I liked in this movie, I think.
This is where if you shut it off, you'd be all right.
Yeah.
And now he's got a boner, and he begins to have sex with the transfixed Jenny, and there's no music. It's very, very uncomfortable. There are her POV shots of Greasefoot looking down at her, and he looks very human at this point because they didn't do a lot of makeup, and he's just kind of humping, from her point of view. And
it's slow, it's methodical, it's almost loving.
Well, and she reaches up and grabs his arms again. She's in this sort of weird state because they're locking eyes, and
that's the only indication that you get that it is consensual, is that about halfway through she does slowly reach up and grip his arms, and you cannot overstate this, the lack of atmosphere, and it's just these two doing it, and it's out of nowhere. And I mean, I get it. It's in the title, guys. You tried to warn me.
Yeah.
What the fuck were you thinking? You show the creaky penis and then you cut away. That way we don't know if it happened or not. Maverick shows up, saves the day or whatever. And then it's like, oh no, what could have happened? And then the post credits is what the post credits should have been, the reveal, not dear fucking God. I don't know. Personally, my thought is that they're flipping us off. That's my thought, is that they're like, you know what? Fuck the audience.
You came here to watch Bigfoot. You came here to watch Bigfoot get laid.
Yeah.
We're going to show you.
And I'm not saying that they did it maliciously because they hate their audience. They have contempt for them, like Joe loves to think David Lynch does. But it's more so just that oh, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it all in. And rather than they could have put some, like bram, 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 and then like sped up the footage to make it look goofy. This is like it's like watching like a fucking documentary about date rape. It's fucking
it really takes the wind out of the room and takes the goofiness out of this big F scenario.
God, there's only like 6 minutes left.
Yeah, and it's so close to the end of the movie. I'm like, oh, is this how it's gonna end? And then so they finish the act, and they're still staring at each other, and the shots of her eyes, shots of his eyes, shots of her eyes, shots of his eyes, and then boom, he gets decapitated out of nowhere, and then the synthesizer hero music kicks back in, and you see Maverick has come in and has decapitated Greasefoot, and then for extra measure, he cuts off Greasefoot's little penis.
Little pee-pee.
Yeah,
I'm watching the scene in question right now, and I
don't.
There's a couple. I'm able to isolate myself from the moment now. There's a couple shots of the Jenny's POV looking up at Greasefoot, and you can see Nathan smiling, like he knows what he's doing. He's super uncomfortable, but he's like, "This is silly. This is silly."
Oh well, probably because from his point of view, he's looking down at probably the actor who played
Oh, he's looking at Chuck with the camera.
Yeah. Holding the camera. And that's his friend. And okay. And they were all laughing and like, okay,
hey, Ryan, it looks like I'm having sex with your belly button. Remember that line from the movie?
Yeah. So anyway, so now Greasefoot's dead. Greasefoot is dead. Jenny comes out of her trance and she doesn't remember. She doesn't, and she was she's blood is splattered on her. And so she knows Greasefoot is dead, but she has no remembrance of what just transpired between her and Greasefoot. Maverick goes down to Chuck and he thinks he's dead. Chuck's laying there unconscious. There's reason to believe he's dead. He won't come to. And then so Maverick starts doing this back and forth dialogue with the dead body of Chuck, where he's moving Chuck's mouth and doing Chuck's dialogue, where he's like, yeah, Maverick, you're a good buddy. I wish we could have hung out and gotten pizza or something. And then, of course, Chuck wakes up. He's not dead. He's just really, really, really hurt. And he says again, go get help, but don't mention Bigfoot. Don't mention Bigfoot. This because they're not going to come help me. And there's this long bit of comedy where Maverick keeps laughing, like, yeah, I wouldn't mention that. And he just does this. At this point, the big F style of humor. It's more of this.
Did you notice that in the background behind Maverick's head during this little exchange? There's clearly a bottle of the fake blood they were using.
Yeah, a jug of it on the table.
I see it now.
And then there's 2 green Solo cups right next to it, probably filled with it as well.
Oh, probably.
Oh, God. Because Brian's laying on the...
Also, when did the power come back?
Shut up, Corey. Shut up.
It's just back. They go downstairs and the lights are on.
I'm watching it back now and I don't quite understand it. Oh no, they do make a moment of it, like Maverick and Jenny recognizing that it happened. I mean, maybe like, hey, I'm interested in a Greasefoot that can control electricity. Like, he can shut down the grid. He's an EMP.
Using the grease. Grease can be a source of fuel.
Yeah.
Oh God, this is almost done. So don't get help, don't mention Bigfoot, and then it cuts to 9 months later, and we see Jenny is hanging out in a well-lit room. We have nice music, and she's next to a bassinet, and she's just quietly rocking this bassinet back and forth, and the camera moves in closer and closer and closer and closer, and we hear a roar. We don't see jack shit. We don't go in. We don't see the baby Bigfoot human thing in the...
I can't fucking believe they didn't make some... They didn't tape like felt to a baby doll or something.
Yeah. Anything, just a sock puppet that goes would have been something. But it just gives you the roar, and then boom, cuts to the credits. We get the credit crawl.
Well, hold on 1 second. So, when you first meet Jenny, I kind of got a weird feeling. Other than the coat was essential to her character's whatever, because Bigfoot identifies with the big coat, whatever.
Oh, Bigfoot big coat.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. Okay. But like her hair, the way her hair is done and the way she dresses, it's like somebody, like a background character out of like an Austin Powers movie. like in the flashbacks in the sequel. Like it was just, it seems so specific. It just, she looks like a 70s pinup girl.
Yeah, there's a go-go dancer kind of.
Yeah, go-go dancer. That's what it is.
With the high boots and
high boots and the real short skirt. And
so
the,
I kind of was just like, you know what? Okay, whatever. That's just the way she dresses. That's fine. But then that last shot of her 9 months later, rocking the bassinet, she's got like a long robe, like somebody out of like the 50s would wear. And she's got these heels with the puff at the end of it, like her slipper heels. Like there's just something specific about her attire that it's like either this is the way Sadie, the actor's name, Sadie, this is just the way Sadie dresses, or for some reason it just seems so specific. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Because there's something about that character that made me think that she would own those heels.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's implied that she had the baby, the Bigfoot baby, and it roars, but we don't see it. And we go to the credits, and there's nothing exciting about the credits except for the fact that it is 4 people basically made this whole movie. Yeah. It is everybody everybody just got together. It was a crew of like 6 between the actors. It was just a very, very small group of friends making this movie.
Big thanks to Lily's Seafood and Brewery, Dickie's Barbecue Pit.
Did you guys see all the Dickie's barbecue cups in the nursery?
Yeah. No.
There was like 10 of them. There's like 10 of them.
Oh, well, there you got a little money. The product placement. I wonder, did they tell Dickie's the plot? What happens at the end? Well, you're the scene you're going to be in is it's the baby from the Bigfoot. Oh,
well, but even more interesting, they put they're trying to give a shout out to the people that supported them, but it has the full address for Dickie's Barbecue Pit, a cell phone number, and an email. I've never felt the urge to email a barbecue joint.
Tyler, do it. Ask them if they know about the Big F.
Well, when COVID ends, we do a special Malevolent Movies road trip, and we go to the Dickie's Barbecue with a copy of the Big F, and we act how everybody goes to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre where the barbecue place was, and everybody takes a picture. We'll be the only people on earth that do that with the Big F. This is Dickie's, man. We referenced the Big F.
They're still open.
Dickie's is a chain.
Yeah.
They've got a location in up by Naperville.
Let's go, boys.
Hey, let's go.
Oh, there's a fuck ton of them. Oh gosh, yeah.
Oh wow.
Hey, for all we know, they had a special Big F barbecue night, and they had a Vic special.
the Greasefoot burger or something.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, there's one in Joliet.
It's all the fat and gristle just put into a patty. Oh, it's filthy.
Well, and if you eat the whole thing, it's huge. If you eat the whole thing, you get your picture on the wall on a T-shirt.
Yeah,
it's the Greasefoot.
And if you don't eat the whole thing, they give you a copy of the Big F.
Yep.
The food looks good. Like, I'll give them credit. It looks great. Oh, they have the cup. They have the cup on the website.
The exact cup that's in the shots?
It looks like it's the big golden cup, and it looks like that's the one in the shot. Maybe a little bit more modern, but hey, I don't know how I've never heard of this, but there's plenty.
I've never heard of it either.
In the burbs, yeah. So,
well, hell, now I got hankering for the Greasefoot burger from Speckles. What was the name of the place?
Dickie's.
Hey,
Dickie's, Big F brought me. Big F.
Maybe we can find a way to just recreate. Maybe the Greasefoot outfit. We just all come in there dressed as Greasefoot. And you hear the manager's like, "Oh fuck, not again."
It's a bunch of greasies.
It's like the new furries. It's just people that are obsessed with Greasefoot.
All you need to recreate Greasefoot is you get a Chewbacca onesie from Target, and then you get a Gandalf the Grey wig, and you wander in there and put on some big old greasy feet.
Yeah, there's not a lot to the Greasefoot, and this is how I know it's obvious. The moment where Jenny tells her Gremlins-like story is obviously a reference to Gremlins, because at the very end in the credits, there's a dedication to Mr. Joe Dante, the director of Gremlins. And let me read you the dedication verbatim. This movie is dedicated to Joe Dante. This movie dedicated to Joe Dante. And then we get one last little goof as far as the credits are concerned. Maverick will return in Sexy Nessie, Maverick versus the Loch Ness Monster. And one can only surmise how awful their Loch Ness Monster would look. if their grease foot is any indication of how their production design. And then yes, we get this post-credit sequence where it's Maverick is in the tub with his little flag boat that we saw in his introduction scene, and he's got two little action figures, and he's playing on the little boat. He's got shrimp sauce, cocktail sauce in his belly button, and he's eating shrimp. But he's playing a little scenario where he is killed. He's got two little action figures. One is him, and one is Chuck. And in this scenario that he's playing, himself gets ripped in half by a shrimp, and Chuck screams, "No, Maverick, I'll miss you!" And that's it. It's a little post-credit sequence, but I thought it was interesting that in his fantasy, in his little game, he dies and his buddy lives on. And then that's it. And there you have it. That is the big F in all of its hour and 10-minute glory. Oof.
Yeah, oof is right.
I mean, just yeah.
And transition sound.
So here we go. From on a scale of malevolent to benevolent. Sean, since you're back, we'll start with you. What do you think?
Oh boy! Here's the deal, guys. Something about the big F slowly warmed this blackened heart. I don't know what it is. No, I could have done without the last scene. I could have done without a lot of it. But it may be because I watched it episodically. I couldn't stomach the whole 71 minutes straight. So I cut it in half. And I think that softened the blow a little bit. But I'm going to go just past the middle on benevolent.
Okay.
There it is.
Ooh, Nick's face. Nick was disgusted.
Brother knew you.
Guys, I don't get out much, so this is, you know what I mean. I gotta take my pleasure when I get it.
Sure.
It's like when you're really, really, really hungry and you would eat anything, and someone gives you like some warmed over Spam. It tastes delicious in the moment, but when
Thank
you're
you, Ryan.
full, when you're full, it ain't gonna cut it. I think that's where Sean's coming from in this scenario.
Sure.
I'm coming in with fresh legs, boys.
Yeah, he hasn't been broken down quite yet, but 14 or 13 of these things.
I slightly enjoyed myself. If not, I was disgusted that I was enjoying myself.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's very fair.
Fair enough.
Let's go with Trevor next.
Oh boy. I'm gonna give this one a malevolent. Definitely. Yeah, I don't know. There's just
Any thoughts?
no, very few positive thoughts. We mentioned I tried to call out the few things I did like in this movie, because there are a few things that I liked. There was that one weird shot of Bigfoot at the beginning. That was nice. I liked the bit with I like the idea. I like the concept of the bit of the two girls like having a conversation with just like, well, looks with the subtitles. That's great. The way they did it, I wasn't a fan, but as a concept, as a joke, I would love to see somebody else do that.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's kind of it for me, though. I have no interest in watching this again. As fun as it was to see his weird little wiener get chopped in half, it wasn't worth the other 80 some odd minutes or however much for me. I can't.
Especially coming off of Doll Factory. We've had the moment.
Yeah.
We've had the wiener chop moment when it's done at top notch in Doll Factory with a little Mazel Tov goof, and
That's great.
So that if you're going to do that kind of chop, you got a lot to live up to on Malevolent movies, and they just couldn't muster.
Yeah, this ain't cutting it. So yeah, definitely Malevolent for me. I'd say probably like all the way Malevolent for me. Nick, I gotta hear.
Yeah.
What's going on over there?
I'm willing to just call it a wash. I'm willing to not pursue my anger with the filmmakers anymore and just say, I'm malevolent. I'm glad you had fun. That's fine, but no more. I
Don't do any more.
There's a few bits. I liked them. They were fine. Wasn't enough. I needed more of that, and this wasn't that movie. This wasn't the movie for me. In the strongest sense possible. Those goofs that they did, I'd very much like to see them done in the right movie. I don't want these guys to. I'm not really interested in seeing anything else they've done, and it's very rare that I take this stand. Very rarely do I just outright despise something without really being able to articulate what I hate about it. But just, I think mostly it was the fact that I couldn't even see. My brain couldn't make sense of the imagery that I was seeing.
Yes.
I sent an image to Tyler, which is you might have seen it. It's hard to describe for our audio listeners at home, but it's an image that says like try to name one object in this image, and it's just this weird like
amalgamation of things.
Yeah, like an AI made like this image, and like stuff kind of looks like stuff, but not really, and it's all pixelated, and that's what felt like watching this. Yeah, just kind of an overall bad experience. Didn't care for it. So that's me. I'm pretty malevolent on this one. Thanks, Tyler.
Well, guess what? Just to spite you, next episode 16, tune in for Fang Boner. The other movie they made.
No.
All right.
No. Are you serious?
Fang Boner, 2015, directed by Nathan, and it stars Brian, who was Maverick. Dick and Susie become infected with an unknown virus. They soon discover that they have a newfound taste for blood. The problem is they only seem to be able to suck blood out of their victims' crotches.
God damn it.
I knew it. I knew with a name like Fang Boner. I mean, come on. It's not, it's not just a clever title.
And Brian Papandrea plays a character named Dick.
Oh, look at that. Well, we got plenty of cool characters in this movie. We got Dick, we got Sucky, we've got Hooker, we've got Fisherman, we've got Jewish drug dealer, banana eating bum, bar slut, shower lady. They're all in there.
Spitting drunk.
I hope the credits for that movie are like SNL, featuring Jewish drug dealer,
bar slut. Jewish drug dealer.
Bomb.
Sucky.
Featuring.
There's a character named Sucky.
Yeah. Juicer.
I guarantee it's better than anything in Fang Boner.
Oh boy, are we really watching Fang Boner next?
No, I'm not watching it.
I can't. I'm not going to say no, never. I'm saying no for the next one.
Assuming Zach hasn't left us for good, I have a movie that I want to hurt him with. So
okay, that's
is that
fair.
SH? Is that SH?
Yes, it is.
Okay, oof, go.
SH, oh no. Go into the Plex and see if I can figure out what that is.
I have to watch it again. What sucks is when we do it, I mean, I got to watch it again. I don't watch these movies more than once. I've already seen SH. I'm going to have to watch it again.
Yeah. Well, Nick, who's next?
Oh, you got some explaining to do. What do you have to say for yourself, Tyler?
Okay, again, so I tried to watch the movies before I picked them, but unfortunately, they're just, because I wanted to find something fun and indie, and there just aren't a lot of Valentine's Day movies. I mean, this mentions Valentine's Day like 5 times, and there's a supposed Valentine letter, but it was tough. There was one other movie that I actually wanted. I can't remember the name of it, but it actually looked legitimately funny for the right reasons. But I couldn't find a copy of it, not even a DVD online. So Valentine's Day as a holiday is awful. So I hope that the sex you had while listening to this podcast was just as bad. But okay, Sean kind of won me back a little bit. Much like what was it, the American Monster movie, or what was it, Amateur
Monster movie.
I was ready to come down hard on that, but you guys, like, you were so into it, it kind of brought me back. This movie, you know, like in video games, like in racing games, there's that little power strip that you hit that gives you that boost.
Yeah.
Like every time I see the actors and everybody having a good time, it's just like boom, boom. Like it shoots me past all of the bad dialogue or plot or trash effects or grease feet. I was doing really good. There was that lull when Maverick is doing his monologue and stuff, and just the quiet moments before the quote unquote climax. But holy shit, I was shocked. I was like shocked into silence by the sex scene at the end. And I don't know, Brian's, what your plan was there or what you were hoping to project, but it fucking
It sucked, guys.
it hurt. It was so, and so after that, I was like, you know what? I literally cannot recommend this because of that alone, because it is so off-putting. It really does feel like something you would see in like a PSA for date rape. And so I was just like, all right, well, I guess this is it. Better warn the guys, apologize in advance, and then we'll just move on from Big F. But hearing Sean talk about it, it's like, oh, God damn it, guys. It's like you did one bad thing. You did the one big bad thing. You wanted to do the improv jokes. You did the door chime stuff. It's like you guys were being so cute, and then like one of you whipped your dicks out. Like you didn't have to do it. And so I'm gonna go neutral. I can't say it's benevolent, but I just don't think I've got it in me to say it is malevolent. I'm right there in the middle, and it's like if you know going into it what you're going to get at the end, then just accept it and move on, or stop the tape right at like minute 58 or whatever it is. But otherwise, if you don't want to watch something that confuses you, makes you question your own sexuality and experiences, then just don't pick up the Big F. Especially don't pick it up for its special features. Come on, Wild Eye. Oh, right.
You should return it.
You know what? Maybe I will.
They don't deserve the money.
How about this? I'm going to look to see if these guys are on online, and I'm going to message them, and I'm going to say, hey, either you give me my $13.99 back, or one of you pops on.
$13.99, Tyler.
It was all that was there.
I paid $9.99 for The Stand, the entire miniseries on Blue.
I got it on Amazon. It was the only thing I could.
Blue.
But anyway, I'm going to tell them you either give me my $13.99 or you come on and do Indie Horror Rewind. You do an interview with us so we can understand why you did that. Why did you do that, Boo Boo?
Oh, I know the filmmakers are on Facebook because I looked them up.
Well, there you go. Expect a very aggressive DM from Mr. Ryan.
No, not from me. I'm not. That Wild Eye Releasing, that's the people to blame. It's Wild Eye Releasing. I don't think it's the filmmakers' fault.
Sure.
Unless the filmmakers couldn't give them the materials. But then again, Wild Eye shouldn't have put out saying, oh, it's got all this stuff. But anyway.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's no way that they had control over what happened there.
But
Ryan, take us home.
All right. So, I've got to say Malevolent on this one. I just, again, a lot of times when we're watching these movies, I ask myself, who is this being made for? Who is the audience for this? And a lot of times I can answer that. It's low budget horror fans in this. In this, I felt like this isn't a movie. This is a fun thing that some friends made for their other friends to get together and laugh at. It's probably, obviously it's chock full of jokes on the earlier stuff. And I have and I can't say for certain, but I have a feeling the crew behind the film and their friends are the same kind of crew that, slams you with their Indiegogo's nonstop, and they're making another movie and says, support independent film. And it's like, you made it without a studio, but is this an independent film? No, this is a home movie in your backyard for your friends on a snow day. And it's goofy for you guys, but this isn't made for an audience in general. This is just made for very specific, I guess, if you really enjoy the kind of regional, super duper no budget stuff, and that's kind of your thing. You watch them all because you might get a goof and it's worth, your hour and 10 minutes. Fine. But yeah, there were some goofs here and there that I appreciated. I pointed them out. The improv stuff was inspired, and I felt genuine. That felt like these guys have been in those situations that we've been in with improv, where it's a hard gig. I appreciated those things. There were moments that I wish somebody else would have done, and because it's a good idea and taking it farther, like the smelling of his friend cooking. I would have liked that done with some more wit. But again, there wasn't a lot. I can't recommend it, and especially the way it ends, of course, with the Greasefoot and all that. So my favorite thing about this is that we came up with Greasefoot, and so I can't give the movie that credit, and therefore I have to say Malevolent on this one. Sorry, guys.
Well, happy Valentine's Day, folks.
Oh boy. Yeah, we love you.
All you sad sacks by yourselves, listen to us.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sean, for coming back and watching the Big F with us. We know you're busy, and so for to all the movies, in the conversation. That's the thing with Malevolent movies too. Side note is that is it the movie's fault that we go this deep? You know what I mean? Is because even the filmmakers behind stuff like the Big F, are they even thinking about the stuff we think about? Is it even worth? That's another thing I think about when I'm watching these movies. Is this even worth talking about? Like in this case, no. This is not something to talk about. The Big F doesn't deserve 2.5 hours of conversation.
I take all of these episodes, Ryan, and I put them on vinyl and I put them in like hermetically sealed cases and I bury them, so that somebody in the future can dig them up and they'll learn a little bit of something about the Big F.
It's about the journey, not the destination.
That's true.
Sean,
That's
beautiful.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
I'm just happy to be back.
We missed you.
We're happy to have you. Yeah, we're happy to have you.
Thank you. I mean, I wish we didn't kick things back off with the Big F, but here we are. It's Valentine's Day, limited selection. But man,
that's what you get sometimes.
Well, folks, have a good evening. Enjoy your Valentine's Day. Actually, because I'm both lazy and getting a lot of work done, you right now you're enjoying Gamebox 1.0 and you're enjoying you listen to the Big F. So, I hope you're having a great Valentine's Day. Look forward to regular episodes coming up. Next episode is going to be The Sickness House.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I don't watch it. I have to rewatch it. No.
You gotta rewatch it. Yep.
Yes, I've already watched it once too.
Yep. Well, how about this? The show's going to turn into if you can find a poor soul to replace you. So we just keep trying to get away from it. It's like It Follows. So we find the next person, and then when they die, it moves back to us.
Yeah.
All right, boys, we are out.
All right.
Good.
Oof.